Hello and welcome to 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Barely There podcast, and on a jam-packed episode tonight, Caleb speaks, Montez Williams speaks. We give you our thoughts on what we thought about 1920 Drive, and we want to give a big thank you to our fans. Also, we'll rank our wide receivers. Do the Bears crack the top 5 in 2025? Find out next. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is the Barely There podcast at 4-Star Chicago Sports, and I got my boys. Jason's back this week. Kyle's in the house. We are living it up, living large, and we have a packed show and lots of things to talk about. First and foremost, how my boys doing today?
I'm doing great, man. We had some technical difficulties that our IT expert Kyle over here fixed, so we're all good there. But otherwise, I had a good weekend. How was your guys' Memorial Day weekend? I haven't talked to you really since then.
I didn't do much, man. My allergies are out of control, so I'm avoiding the outside as much as possible. I did go see our boy Tony race up in Beloit, Wisconsin, but outside of that, I hid from the elements, so to speak.
I got sunburned, dude.
Sunburn doing what?
Lawn work.
Oh, jeez. How you doing, Kyle, over there up in the left corner?
I'm doing all right, man. Still dealing with the shoulder issue and the usual annoying things in life. Besides that, I'm all right. How are you doing, Sean?
Oh, you know me. Happy to be here and happy to be talking Bears with my boys. So we had OTAs return today for the Chicago Bears. And Kyle, I want you to just go inside, give us some of the observations that you saw today and you heard through scouring the internet, and then I'll get into the post-conference interviews.
Well, Sean, first and foremost, the most important thing that came out of OTAs today for me were that it seems like Ozzie Trapilo has supplanted Karan Amagaji as the starting left tackle, at least for right now, or at least they're just trying to get him some starting experience there. And then obviously the defense had a really good day today, which means Caleb Williams unfortunately did not have a really good day today. He was picked off twice. Both plays were included Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds picked off one of his passes, and then he tipped one of his passes across the middle of the field that was in turn intercepted by Jaquan Brisker, who seems to be back to full health here. But yeah, I mean, overall, there's not really much stuff to talk about in OTAs. They're kind of basically just running through cones. They're not allowed to record the 7-on-7s or the 11-on-11s. So basically what you get to watch is basically scrimmages. But they are talking about how good a lot of these rookies look, man. Shamar Turner, Ozzie Trapilo, Kyle Monangai, these are the guys that Ben Johnson picked. Remember, everybody else in this roster, he was here before he got here. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see these guys start to move up the depth chart a little bit, Sean.
And, we're going to give our annual, we're going to do this annually, I think, and weekly whenever there's an OTA. Here's a Eric Bieniemy clip because we're going to love this guy all freaking year long.
Eyes up. Nice. Hit. Come on. You look like an old ass man. Hit. Come on. Nice.
And if you guys missed that, he calls Monangai. He goes, "Boy, you move like an old ass man." Monangai goes, "You love me." The enemy goes, "I don't love your ass."
He added some things on the end of it too, but
he had a mother effer in there too.
Yeah. I will tell you what. Actually, one of the guys you want to really watch there, and we can always talk about this a little bit later, is that Hankins guy. He's basically like a Roshan Johnson clone, and he wasn't drafted, but he's a rookie this year. So I don't know if that's a Bieniemy pickup or whatever. Maybe a special team or maybe practice squad guy, but he probably won't make the roster with Travis Homer on there still, but. Don't be surprised if that guy surprises you. And I think the running back rooms next year are going to look a lot different than it does this year. I don't think it's going to be the same running back room.
Yeah, and you know what? It's really great. It's really great to see Tremaine Edmonds coming in. You know, there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of fans that haven't been overly excited about his performance as a Chicago Bear on the field. So it seems as though early in OTAs he might be taking to the Dennis Allen defense. And hopefully, as I've been saying on our shows, this guy's going to bounce back and look like the Buffalo Bills linebacker that was an all-pro here for the Chicago Bears.
6'5", 250, runs like a 4. Dude, I mean, he's your prototypical middle linebacker, dude. You want that guy on your team. You really do. That's not – it sounds like, oh, every team's got him, but they don't. I mean, he has the potential to be a very, very good football player in the right defense, and I hope it's Dennis Allen's.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously everybody – like Kyle said, there's not too much. There's no pads. There's no tackling. I did catch a clip, though, on 7-on-7s of Byard and Brisker blue coverage, and Cole Kmet ran up the seam and caught a bomb for a touchdown from Caleb Williams. That was out there today, so that's good. You know, not all was great. Obviously, turned it over, as Kyle stated a couple times today. But I think everybody wanted to hear Caleb speak. So Caleb came out today, and they asked him, he opened up the presser and said, it wasn't something that I wanted to happen at this point, Williams said. We're focused on the present. We're focused on the now. We're focused on trying to get this shit moving in the right direction. He followed that up by saying it's a challenge to be able to come here and try and turn it around. And and that's the main goal of all of that, the Bears quarterback said Wednesday. Through all of what's going on, through all of what happened last year and the previous year, I think that it was enticing. I think it was something that was glaring to me that I wanted to come here. I wanted to be the guy to be a part of the reason why the Chicago Bears turned this thing around. Then he followed that up with his father. They started asking him about his father, and he goes, and I'm sorry the print is so small. They looked a lot bigger when I was doing them. He goes, I think your son, if your son or daughter or anybody in this situation to be in that position, I think all about the options you have. He thinks all about the options that you have, the history, the facts, and all the different things that go into it, Williams said. Those are the thoughts that go throughout your head in those situations. All of those were just thoughts. And after I came here for the visit, it was deliberate and determined that my answer was I wanted to come here. And I think it's important. The important thing is I wanted to be a Chicago Bear. And then on top of that, they asked him about his father speaking for him, which might have been one of the dumbest questions for a reporter to ever ask. Well, Caleb Williams did take it in stride. And this is what he said when asked about it.
Caleb, does your dad speak for you?
No. No. I actually shut my dad down quite a bit. He has ideas. He's a smart man. And so I listen, and I always listen. And I'm very fortunate to be in this position in the sense of, playing QB, but also very fortunate to have a very strong-minded father. And so, we talk very often. It's like my mom and my dad are my best friends. And so, being able to, have conversations with them to understand that everything they say also is, portrayed on me. So I think that's the part of it. But other than that, no, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm very fortunate to have a father, that's super strong-minded, that's always there, always wants the best for his kid. And I think, any of y'all that has a kid or, anything like that, a niece or nephew that you love so dearly, they try and help and you try and help and put them in positions that it's the best position that you can. So that's all he tries to do. But no, definitely a grown man. And, I shut him down quite a lot just because, in season, out of season, something that you have to do. He cares so much about me and, my future. And we've been along this journey so long together that, all he wants is the best for me. And so if anything happens, he's super high-headed, and it's more of like, all right, like, go ahead and go away, reset and things like that. So, love him to death and things like that. And like I said, super fortunate to have him. But, we have talks about it, understanding that, it's a right place and the right time. And then, there's times where it's not.
I think he handled this personally, and I'll get you guys' opinions right now. Personally, I think he came in and I think he handled this postseason or this presser handling all of these different questions. I thought he handled it very professionally. It was a 14-minute interview. If you guys have a chance, go back and take a look at it if you didn't. I thought he did very well. He was very straightforward, answered the questions about his dad. Even though that question was just dumb as hell, dude. Does your dad speak for you? Of course not, dude. This guy's a professional freaking athlete, dude. And honestly, for me, I think this should all be under the rug. It's time for it to be over. It was asked, answered, time to move on. He's a Chicago Bear. He wants what's best for the organization. What do you got? What are your guys' thoughts?
I got two thoughts. The first thing is, in his presser, he did say, look, the whole thing about Minnesota wasn't that big of a deal. Yes, I went there and I liked it, which you can't blame the kid for, right? I mean, you'd probably, if you're a quarterback, love going to Minnesota too, right?
Yeah.
But then he said, I then went to Chicago and I chose Chicago. That to me is a really strong statement. It's saying, yeah, I went to one of the best quarterback coaches in the universe, loved him, but chose the Bears instead. Now, I know he got drafted by the Bears, but he could have, and clearly by the statements he was, in that book, he was thinking about it, or at least his dad was, of, blowing the Chicago Bears up, or, what, no, I'm going to go play arena ball, or whatever the hell he was saying. It's a possibility. But I think at the same time, you come here and you see Palace Hall, which, Sean, you and I have both been there many times. It's gorgeous, dude. It's nice. The facility is really, really nice. And then you see the city and you're like, oh, man, this is like a world-class city. This is a really cool place to be. And in his own words, I had the chance to maybe turn this thing around, basically saying, I'm going to be a god if I can do this. It's one thing to go into a program that's already running and doing great. Now you're living up to that guy's expectations. He wants to come in here and be the standard for Chicago, to where now every quarterback after him is going to have to play to his level. And then, his dad's just being a dad. His dad just got to learn to, maybe just shut up from time to time, because you could hurt your son. You know what I mean?
That's what he just said. There's a time to talk and a time not to. What did you take away from Caleb today, Kyle?
Well, yeah, I mean, Sean, you said that he handled all the questions very well. I mean, par for the course, right? Caleb Williams has handled pretty much everything well since he's been here. The guy went through more adversity than any other rookie quarterback last season, and he handled everything quite well. He is the consummate professional. He always comes out and says the right things. I think he's concerned about his legacy. He's concerned about playing football, and he's concerned about being great for the Chicago Bears. I think the rest of the stuff is all kind of just drama. And you can tell when there's really nothing going on in the NFL, right? Because they just pound these stories into the ground. If this was the middle of the season, it would have been like a one-day thing and everybody would have moved on, but there's just not much going on in the world of the NFL right now. But, Caleb Williams, since he was even in the pre-draft process, Caleb Williams was scrutinized for his unorthodox behavior, for being eccentric. As a football fan, as a football analyst, my job is not to worry about what Caleb Williams does at home. I don't care if he paints his nails. I don't care what his relationship between his dad is. That's between Caleb Williams and his family. All I care about is if Caleb Williams can step into a football field, play well enough to win championships. That's it. And as far as I can tell, Sean, the guy works hard. He's smart. He's a quick learner, and he's going to pick up this Ben Johnson offense pretty quickly. And with the offense the Bears have put around him, this is going to be something special to watch here in Chicago. Even if the record's not great, it's still going to be fun to watch the Chicago Bears offense, and it's all due in part to Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And, Case Keenum also said from the inside, from what he's done with this team, I mean, I don't see any distractions or any difference in who he is or how he acts. He said he acts like a leader. That's coming from a veteran quarterback. I thought that was a great little excerpt and from Case Keenum today, just to put this all to rest. One of the big things, though, that I really wanted to get to, what's up, Ron? What's up, Phil? Thanks for jumping in. T. Dustin, thank you guys so much for joining us here on this Wednesday. I got a couple minutes of tape here. And Kyle, we've been having a very, very big discussion about number 98, Montez Sweat. And we are going to hear from him right now, because I want to get your guys' thoughts on where this guy's head's at, because I think this guy, and I said it on Monday, and I'm going to say it until the sun doesn't shine, this guy is going to bounce back. He's going to be the MVP of the Bears defense this year, and he seems to be focused on it. Let's check it out.
Montez, it was obviously you was dealing with something last year on the health side. You being out here is positive that you're probably 100% past that now, but you go back to it, what was it? And then how much do you think it actually hampered you as you continue to show up week after week for the guy?
I don't really dwell on it too much. Football is a game, but now if you're gonna get hurt but win. So you got to deal with those type of things and just move forward. So I'm sure that won't be my last injury. So I'll just be ready for that when it presents itself again.
Tess, what have been your earliest impressions of Dennis Allen and what he wants to do defensively?
He's a very complex individual. He has a lot of fronts and schemes and things that he can attack the offense with. So he's a great guy. Smart.
How do you think Fields handled the last couple of weeks? This report comes out about him wanting to play for the Vikings before he got drafted and to turn into a little bit of a firestorm.
Yeah, we don't get into all that stuff in the media and all that type of stuff. We understand where that comes from. So, but yeah, he seemed no different to me. Same old Caleb.
So there was never a moment where he had addressed it with the group and said, "Hey, sorry," or anything like that?
Not that I know of, no.
You were thinking about it for a second. Why is complex the word that comes up when you think of DA?
Well, I mean, I'm saying I'm trying to learn a new defense right now. So it presents its challenges, different fronts, different blitzes, different coverages and things like that. And it's just more than I had to learn in the past. I would say. So he's definitely a little bit more complex than DCs I had in the past. So.
Ryan Poles told us in January that, I guess it might have been your exit interview. You guys had a conversation where he said you expressed some disappointment in yourself from how this last season went. What was that conversation? I guess, what was the tenor of that conversation?
It was just us basically just going over the season, how I do every year with the GM and the head coach. It was just going over the season.
What disappointed you about last year?
We didn't make the playoffs. Just some of my personal goals that wasn't met. It was just a disappointing year.
He also said at that point, and there was obviously Dio comes in free agency, they had Grady Jarrett, that putting more talent up front was going to be a priority. Seeing how the team addressed the D-line, how do you feel about that?
I'm excited. Adding new talent on the D-line, every year you get new guys and new personalities and things and stuff like that. So, I'm excited what the year has to offer.
I wouldn't say it's early, but what has Grady brought to that room, both off the field and how do you expect he'll bring it on the field? Because obviously that pressure in the middle should probably help you out, I would imagine.
Yeah, Grady he's brought a lot of leadership and experience to the room. He helps out the young guys a lot. He's also kind of played in this type of defense before that some players haven't, including me. So he's helping out in that aspect too. So Grady's a big help right now.
Montez, I know you guys are still getting to know the coaching staff, but are you already sensing that they're bringing in the right energy, or there's a sense of buy-in in the room that the culture is going to change the way that you guys feel it needs to?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we're on the right track. You can do all the hooting and hollering before the season and all that type of stuff. It all comes down to what's happening on Sundays. Are we winning? Or are we losing? So we'll bring the judging board out there.
So just taking that goes on for another 5 minutes. I just wanted to get back here. But 3 things I took away. 1, he's learning a brand new defense he's never been in. 2, it goes on to say that Grady Jarrett is attached to Javon Dexter and working with Javon Dexter hand over fist, which is a great sign. Then on top of that, you have Montez Sweat, who went in last year and was disappointed in his play. Like we've said, Kyle, we've went over this 100 times. If there was any person that pointed out his flaws, it was his own self at his own exit interview at the end of the year. I don't know what you guys took away from that. What are your thoughts, Montez, before we move on?
Yeah, him learning a new defense doesn't necessarily trouble me because it may be new, but they're still the same type of base defenses, so he's going to catch on. Defense is easier to learn than offense, and defenses as a whole actually generally learn faster than offenses. That's why it doesn't surprise me right now our defense is picking Caleb Williams off, who's literally learning a new offense. So I'm glad to hear that these guys are being challenged. I'm glad that he wasn't happy. And I'll be honest with you, I think both he and the other side of the line are going to have a much better year than the, what was it, 5 or 6 sacks that he had last year. The whole defensive line really didn't have that many sacks to begin with. I think Edwards had 4, which I think beat half of the defensive line. So, I think he'll be good. I think he's a good player. I think he needs a system that has strong interior defensive linemen because there has to be pressure somewhere else. He's not Myles Garrett. He's Montez Sweat. He's a good football player. I like him, but he's not going to just be able to take over a game every play like those elite edge rushers do. So he needs that help on the interior. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
There's really not that much to take away from that interview. I mean, obviously his body language, he seems very annoyed. He doesn't want to be at that presser.
Yeah.
He doesn't strike me as a guy who likes to talk a lot, man. I think Montez just wants to show up to the field, do his job, and go home. But you heard him say he was disappointed in his play last year. I think every Bears fan in the world should expect him to be better this season. I think he expects more of himself. And it's nice to hear him say that the Dennis Allen defense is complex, even though it's going to be tough for him to learn, because he's like, I've never really learned anything as complex as this. Well, that's good. That means that Matt Eberflus was very simple and had a very simple defense. And it's nice to see that there's a guy here now who's willing to be, that's willing to get creative, and it's going to be tough to learn, but at the end of the day, it should transition into a much better defense. And we've seen that with the New Orleans Saints and Dennis Allen. When he got there, they were the 31st ranked defense in the NFL, and it took some time, but ultimately he got them in the top 10, and I expect the same thing to happen here, Sean.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I know everyone was glued to the television as we transition away from the OTAs and we get into the premiere of 1920 Football Drive yesterday, which I thought was a really, really cool show. Just kind of going over the draft process, talking about the scouts and all the things that they go through, you don't get to see a lot of that footage. I don't know what your guys' impressions were of it. It did seem though, by watching it, that Trapilo and Turner, as they were maneuvering and shifting these picks, were 2 guys they were targeting, because if you remember, they said, if we trade back, we should still be able to get these guys. Where do you think Turner is going to fall? I mean, they were thinking about this before they traded back and said, hey, we can pick up some picks. We'll still end up with their guys. I do feel like these were their targeted guys. We'll get into Hippolyte here in a second, because I have a little rant on the whole Hippolyte thing and that whole situation. But when it comes to Luther Burden and it comes to the show as a whole and watching it, what did you guys take away? Because, Kyle, we talked about on Monday, our whole show was about alignment of the front office. And it seemed as though in that room they were pretty aligned. Kevin Warren was sitting off to the side. Ben Johnson was quiet. Cunningham and Poles were doing their thing, cutting it up. If I were to say my biggest takeaway is, what would life be without Ian Cunningham? Because to me, it seems as though Ryan Poles really depends and values what he thinks, and Kyle, you brought up something that I forgot about last year when he stopped them from making a trade. What was that, Kyle? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Ryan Poles was trying to trade up for Rome Odunze, and Ian Cunningham kept telling him to stay patient because Rome Odunze is going to fall to 9. If he had not told him that, I think Ryan Poles probably would have traded up and he would have lost a draft pick there. Yeah, I mean, Ian Cunningham is definitely a good guy to have on his side there. It seems like he leans on him a lot. I mean, honestly, Sean, it seems like Ryan Poles leans on the whole scouting department a lot, because he's probably a very busy guy with a lot on his plate. And at the end of the day, if you put these guys in position, you hire these guys, you need to trust them. And yeah, you're right. I think they had their eyes set on Ozzie Trapilo and Shamar Turner, and they were like, hey, listen, we can get those guys later in the draft. Let's trade back and add some draft capital. I'm glad to see them do that. But yeah, Sean, you talked about this on Monday. It seems like these were the coach's picks, and I think Ryan had to give him the okay. But I mean, when Dennis Allen, when they drafted Shamar Turner, that's the guy he wanted. You saw when they drafted Hippolyte, he's like, we just added speed. You heard Dennis Allen say, we just added more speed to this defense. And same thing said for Luther Burden. You saw Ben Johnson's face light up when the Bears were up and Luther Burden was still on the board. Somebody he wanted. And then when the Colston Loveland, it seemed like the entire staff was involved in making that Colston Loveland pick. And it's nice to see, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you hire these guys to be in these positions. You have to trust them, right? If you don't, then they shouldn't be in those positions.
Yeah, I think everybody was in alignment, which a team, scouting department should be that way. It kind of puzzles me about Ian Cunningham. Is he more of a scout or a strategist? And that's pretty big, because if he's a strategy guy and maybe it was him that orchestrated the whole DJ Moore trade, maybe he is the one that really deserves the praise. I don't know. We'll probably never hear the answer to that, the truth, until, we're old and gray. But It's interesting. I like seeing it. Kevin Warren seemed like he was on board too, but not pushing them to do anything, just asking them. But he seemed to be like, oh, so we're going to trade down now. Yeah, we're going to get an extra pick. Yeah, it sounds about, they just seemed like they were all on the same page. And it does also seem like a lot of the position coaches were involved in a lot of these decision-making skills, not just the scouts. And it seems like every coach kind of got somebody they wanted. You know what I mean? Even special teams, you're going to get special teamers one way or the other in the draft, right? 6th, 7th round. But, it seems like we just got, defense got some guys on the ball. I mean, Za Frazier's going to be a stud, I think, especially learning in this group. We'll see what happens with Hippolyte. I don't know if he's good, but I think the offensive players we took are great. We took 2 tackles. Newman is not a slouch. Seems like they were pretty high on Newman as well. They kept making those Seinfeld jokes, waiting for those to happen. But I mean, and then Ozzy Trapillo is a giant human being. I think Pohl said he fills up a doorway, and Poles is not a small guy either. When you see the GM meetings picture, they have all the head coaches and GMs, he's literally taller than everybody there. Ozzy Trapillo is bigger than him. That's how insane it is. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these guys and if we can develop them. I think there's some guys on the roster that are already on the team that have been for a year or two that I'd like to see develop as well. But it's good to see that the entire staff is in lockstep and everybody's getting what they want. So, I mean, we'll see if they pan out or not. But
yeah, real quick, guys, let's just give a shout out to the chat here. Tom G, thanks for joining us. Breaking News Bruce, Phil, Bears fan for life. Brandon, obviously Dustin, 2 of the 4 stars themselves. Ron Winarski, appreciate you being here. Everybody
T was in there. I don't know if he's in there now.
Yeah, T, thanks for joining us. Anybody who has not already, please like and subscribe. If you are watching this show on Twitter, please go over to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and please share this video with a friend if you guys enjoy listening to us. Sean, one thing I will say about that 1920 drive video is there were some things that they we had some suspicions of certain players in certain positions, and they kind of confirmed some of our suspicions. I mean, if you guys heard them, when you guys heard them talking about Luke Newman, he is here to be a center, no doubt about it.
100%.
He is a center.
Kyle, you took the words out of my mouth because I was just going to say this. If you watch in detail when they talk about Newman, this was a guy they targeted and they liked.
This as a center. Yeah, and they said the word center 5, 6, 7 times when they were talking about that little 2-minute spiel. And then Ozzy Trapillo himself, you heard Ryan Poles say, hey, listen, this guy's a starter in the NFL. He's going to start here, whether it be in the right or left, he's going to start. So, and then obviously Luther Burden, Sean, just how happy all the entire staff was, the offensive staff. When you talk about Ben Johnson, you talked about Declan Doyle, you could see how happy they all were. This guy, I think, has a free pass to the starting slot wide receiver position. The only way he doesn't get it is if he's just not learning the offense or he can't pull his head out of his ass and has character issues. I'd say if he does everything they ask, you pretty much are looking at your day one starting slot receiver.
And you know what? That's a good point because there's 120 targets vacated by Keenan Allen leaving. So somebody's got to get those. They're not all going to go to Odunze.
Colston Loughlin's going to get some of those too. And I'll say this: the thing that we were all questioning and we know about. I'm just going to play this little 7 seconds right here because then I'm going to go off for a second.
They're going to have a highlight. They're going to be ready for this one. I love when they're not ready for it.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't.
Kyle, Jay, this is what I was saying, and this is what really kind of just irks me. For a guy, it just seemed like a very high arrogance level that he had. For a guy who's never had an 8-win season, the guy who hasn't accomplished much, he's busted on multiple 3rd-round picks, 4th-round picks. It doesn't seem like you learned from the Velus Jones experiment a couple of years ago that you can't do this, and it just suggests that he's confident in his scouting department's evaluation over consensus rankings. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I said we can't judge a book by its cover. They showed him running his 40 time. I mean, if you look at Ruben Hippolyte when he, was running that 40, he is a physical specimen. It's not like, he's a chump. But again, I'm with you, man. Like it just showed some arrogance from a GM that hasn't really accomplished much. There's 100 guys I would have taken in that spot over Hippolyte. I don't know what you guys took away from that.
I will tell you this. When it comes to consensus expert rankings Here's the thing. None of those guys are actually in NFL scouting rooms and are NFL scouts. Some of them are former ones. Some of them were very bad at it. Some were okay at it. Most of them only have like a 30% hit rate when it comes to success on where they're going to be drafted. So I don't know that any of us outside of NFL rooms really fully know what the scouting board looks like and where these ranks are being held. They're not in there interviewing teams. Some teams might value character more than they value the actual physical traits. When you're rebuilding a team, that might be something you're really, really concerned with. Other teams that are established, like a Philly, may not care about your character issues and take a Carter and take a chance on it and get a stud. So, some guys fall. Shedeur Sanders probably shouldn't have fallen into the fourth round or fifth round, whatever he was. But, look, whether Hippolyte should have been drafted or not, he wasn't on my radar, I'll be honest with you. But I don't run an NFL organization. So, I'm not that smart. If I was, I would be doing it, right? I could barely win I think I got one fantasy championship to my name in football. So, but the honest to God's truth is he can still pan out. It doesn't matter where you get drafted. You still have to play hard. You still have to play up to your ability. Everybody that's in the draft, and a lot of the guys that don't get drafted are still really, really good football players. We're talking about the top 0.5% of the planet. These guys are less than that, 0.1% of the planet's population. So, these guys are all good football players. My big question of more where we drafted any of these guys, because Luther Burden, like you just said, could just as easily be a bust if he's not smart and can't figure out the playbook, right? That's to me a bigger waste of a pick, a second-round pick, if he winds up being a bust than Hippolyte is in the fourth, who shouldn't have been drafted. My big concern is, can we develop him? I don't care who we draft. Can we develop them? It's great to draft a guy that's got all the talent in the world, but if you can't coach him and it doesn't produce on the field and wins and stats, then what are we doing? I don't know. I don't look at those expert picks as highly and rate them as highly as everybody else, because I think the best guy in the universe literally has like a 34% hit rate. It's a little bit easier than hitting a baseball, but pretty close.
Yeah, Sean, at the end of the day, I'm not really upset with them having faith in Ruben Hippolyte or trying to add speed to the defense. If they like that player, then and Dennis Allen, by all accounts, is one of the best defensive coordinators of all football, and he wanted Ruben Hippolyte. If that's what they wanted, fine, go get him. But I just don't understand the reach. That's what it's confusing to me. Did the Bears honestly believe that Ruben Hippolyte had a bunch of suitors who were just waiting for him to fall into the fourth or fifth round? I just don't see it. He was the first non-combine invitee to be drafted in the draft, and he was ranked by a couple different guys. Dane Brugler even said that he was the reach of the draft before the draft was even finished. He determined that he was the reach of the draft
because it wasn't on his report. It wasn't on his beast. If he was on his beast, he would have been a really good pick. And
you know what? I've always hated the smartest guy in the room moves. I've always hated that. The Chicago Bears have done that for my entire life, as of the Cubs, the Blackhawks, the Bulls. They've all done the same thing. You could talk about Patrick Williams on the Bulls. It's just draft the guys who are the general consensus best football players in the country. And when you look at the film, you look at the statistics, they are all on the top. I don't understand why the Bears continue to do this. Now, like I said, maybe for once, Ryan Poles believes he has a coaching staff here that he can believe in, and he believes that Dennis Allen sees something in Ruben Hippolyte that nobody else saw, and maybe it works out. And Ruben Hippolyte is a very good player in the NFL. I can tell you this right now. If you go look at the Bears depth chart, he is already listed as their number one outside linebacker. He's going to be their number one outside linebacker unless something happens or something changes in training camp or preseason. But I'm not going to knock the pick until I see the guy in the football field, but I feel like the value wasn't worth it. I think you could have gotten Hippolyte in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, and I just don't understand why the Bears continue to do this. And to be honest with you, as much as I love what's happening in Chicago and I love what Ryan Poles has done this offseason, that was my least favorite quote of that entire video. Are you ready for this? I love when they're not ready for this. I don't think they're going to be ready for this. I don't think they're going to have highlights ready for Ruben Hippolyte. Yeah, you know why they're not going to have highlights for him, Ryan? Because nobody planned on drafting him. That's why they don't have any highlights for him.
Yeah, that's kind of that. And for me, it was just more like, you've already done this a couple of times. You've already busted, when Velus Jones got picked, the first thing I said was, you just drafted a dude who couldn't even put together 500 yards in college for a freaking season. So now you're doing this with Hippolyte. It was just the way he came off. It just seemed very arrogant. And it just I can understand if he was, what's his name from Philadelphia? I can't think of his name right now. Howie
Well-
Roseman. If he was Roseman and Roseman's taking this chance and he's giggling it up in the draft room, like, ha ha ha, we're gonna fool them all with this one, I'd be like, okay, a couple Super Bowl champions, no problem. But that, I don't know. It was the only part, like you said, Kyle, it was the only part of the whole 1920. It irked me the second I saw it. I'm like, God damn, dude, you know this is a reach.
No, Sean, he was saying that when he drafted Jahad Campbell with the second to last pick in the first round, laughing at everybody, not Ruben Hippolyte in the fourth. I mean, I don't think that's the difference between good organizations and bad organizations is they miss on draft picks. Everybody does. Like Jason said, it's impossible to go 100%, but you can at least put yourself in the best position to do so. I mean, Ruben Hippolyte, by all accounts, was supposed to be an undrafted free agent. So if you like him that much, I mean, maybe sixth round, you can go get him. Yeah. But like you said, Sean, there was 100 players on the board that I would have drafted in front of him. And we were live on this podcast when the Bears drafted him. And when you said his name, Sean, I'm like, I've done thousands of hours of research on this draft. I've never heard of Ruben Hippolyte. I didn't know he was a linebacker until you told me. Now, like I said,
we still can't find his age.
If we're all wrong and Ruben Hippolyte comes out and is a very good player in the NFL, then we probably need to start trusting this coaching staff, particularly Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson. And in the future, if they nailed that one, Ruben Hippolyte's a really good player in the NFL. In the future, we need to trust them regardless of where the players are ranked or what. But this is their first draft altogether, guys. This is the first time all these guys have done a draft together. So we don't know what to expect. I mean, the Detroit Lions made some picks where people were kind of questioning it. A lot of people laughed in the Lions' faces when they passed on Bijan Robinson to draft Jahmyr Gibbs. How'd that turn out? I mean, you never know, man. You never know what you get until they take the field.
Kyle, a couple of weeks ago when you guys were talking about Hippolyte when I wasn't on the show, I said, let's not judge a book by its cover. I'm not judging Hippolyte. I was just more or less polls just pissed me off. That's all I'll say. Polls just pissed me off. It just seemed arrogant. And it looks like we do have a new guy here in the chat. So welcome in, Jimmy. We appreciate the blood. And he came in and he said, my intangible concern is what the chemistry between the players. The coach of 22 years, 5 of the championship teams I had, the one common denominator was camaraderie. So, I think the team is coming together. I really do.
Team chemistry is always good in OTAs. It's, when you're on your 6th loss in a row, how is the team gelling then? If you can stay cohesive there, you're fine.
We got to give Ron. Ron needs a clap too. We love you, Ron. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Ron is new. I love you, Ron.
I love you, buddy. So any other takeaways that you guys had from the 1920 football drive?
One thing I liked a lot, man, and I know it has nothing to do with the Chicago Bears and anything that's going to happen in the future here, but I never really knew that all the scouts from all the different teams were so close knit, man. Did you see them all comparing 40 times and stuff? Like, what did you get? What did you get? What did you get? And they're all talking and exchanging notes. I think it was pretty cool to see. And honestly, guys, all this stuff you don't get to see this stuff every day. You're not in those rooms. You're not even the life of a college scout. They're showing the guy in the hotel room typing up a report late at night, and he's like, I have to wake up early in the morning and go to the next city in LSU and do this all over again. I mean, these guys get paid a lot of money, so I don't feel bad for them. But man, some of these jobs, it's a grueling career for these guys. And what's that, Jason? You said some of these guys have 30, 35. What's the hit rate you have to be before you get fired as a scout for the NFL football team? I mean, the pressure has to be absolutely immense.
It's your record that really matters, right? If you're gathering, good players, but you can't coach them, or for some reason you can't win a game, you're probably going to get fired. Even look, Lovey won 10 games and got fired, right? Like, you know what I mean? Because he lost to the Packers twice. So.
Yeah, besides that, Sean, I didn't not too much to pull out of there. I mean, it was fun, it was entertaining, but in terms of informative tidbits that are going to determine what the Bears' record is or anything like that, I'd say it's just most of the stuff you took away from that was this is all wait and see. We got to see what Ben Johnson and his coaching staff can do, but it was certainly entertaining. That's for sure.
I find it a little hard to believe though that they got every guy that they wanted. Like, I wish they would have maybe showed a little bit more of somebody else they were looking at or whatever. I know they probably won't do it because they don't want to make their current players feel bad, but I want to see a little bit more of how their thought process works. I don't need their whole calculation. They don't need to give away the secret sauce, but there's no way they got absolutely everybody exactly right where they wanted. It's just not
Well, there's a ton of stuff they didn't show. I'd love to see. I'd love to see where they had Ozzie Trapilo ranked with the rest of the tackles in the draft. Was he either number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7? You heard Ryan Poles say we felt like Ozzie Trapilo was the end of that top tier in tackles, and anybody after that would be on the next tier down. So we had to go get him. But I wonder, where was he ranked as their last top tier 1 tackle? Was he ranked in the middle of their top tier 1? I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like the Bears continue, especially with Ryan Poles, they continue to trade down in these drafts, and it's like at some point maybe you should just start drafting the talent that's available to you when you're ready, when you're up to.
That's why I think the players they wanted were gone, and they're like, well, screw it, now I'll just trade down. If it's not my number 1 guy, I think this Ozzie Trapilo guy is going to be available in the second round. Well, let's trade for more picks so we can get him at the bottom of that second round. I'm guessing that's how it works, but because I think they did want a different running back. I think there was a couple of moves that they just missed out on. So
I wish they would have talked about that just a little bit, because if you go back to that post-draft interview, the crazy look that Ben Johnson gives when he apparently isn't happy about something, when he didn't get a running back, he gave Poles that look. So I do think a running back was a priority. If it wasn't Genty, maybe it was Caleb Johnson or one of these other guys that didn't fall to them and the draft just didn't work out. But I got a question for you guys, because we spent Monday talking about the alignment and how this organization's starting to come together. Would you guys say, and we haven't seen any winning or any success yet, but would you say that the front office, does Poles look like he's trying to mirror successful organizations like the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Chiefs? Empower smart people around him, draft with conviction, don't be afraid to go off script, stuff like that. Do you guys feel that way, or do you? It's still just wait and see?
I think it's a whole entire organizational change. And I know it sounds cliched because the ownership is still there, but I think Kevin Warren has probably done more to reshape the Bears than people are giving him credit for. And when you really look at his resume, it's pretty damn impressive. I mean, look what he's done in Minnesota. Look what he did to the Big Ten. It's insane. If he could do that type of turnaround and growth for the Chicago Bears, guys, the next 10, 15 years are going to be great, man. They're going to be fun to watch. I don't know if this year is going to be, the year we've all been waiting for, but I think he creates organizations. I know it sounds silly, but just look at his resume. He tends to be a winner. Now, I don't know if that's because he's just a really smart delegator, a really good negotiator. I mean, Poles was there already, right, before he got there. But I think at least Poles might be getting some guidance, let a guy make some weird picks and whatever, because, he was in the room there with him. And like I said, he seemed to be on point with everything they were doing, trading down. He didn't seem to be upset that he was giving up draft capital, later in the round to get it, all in the second round. So they all seem to be on the right page and have the same philosophy. So I'm hoping it's a full organizational change. Even Tony Medlin, who's been there for 850 years, I'm hope that guy's getting his input and helping the team out any way he can. But I think it literally is the entire organization that has changed, not just Poles.
Yeah, Ryan Poles is going to do things the way he wants to do them. That's why he was hired. That's why he was brought here. He's not going to change and become somebody else. Do I think he tries to mimic the success of other rosters and other organizations? I would hope so. Yeah, sure. But you could tell in that video that Kevin Warren has a very close, watchful eye on Ryan Poles. And I don't know how long the leash is, but if this team comes out and goes 5-12 again, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Poles is the one who suffers the consequences. And it's got to be for guys like Velus Jones and Zach Pickens and Ruben Hippolyte. And, one of the biggest news stories at OTAs, the long list of guys who did not participate, is now Zach Pickens has another soft tissue injury. I mean, it's going to be another third-round pick that's probably going to be cut off this team before the start of the season. And that, at some point, that needs to stop, guys.
Yeah, and a soft tissue injury kept out my boy Kyler Gordon. There was 2 other guys. TJ Edwards had a soft tissue injury.
Luther Burden didn't participate. Kyler Gordon didn't participate. Colston Loveland didn't participate. There was a couple offensive linemen did not participate. I mean, there was a long list of injuries for the Bears, but I think these are maintenance injuries. These are guys who are like, hey man, I woke up and must have slept wrong on my shoulder wrong, and they're like, oh, why don't you just take the day off? It's OTAs, who cares?
Yeah, they're doing installs and stuff right now.
I'm not worried about some of these guys.
You just don't want to hear broken leg, torn ACL, torn Achilles. That's what you don't want to see.
We gotta look at this, and I don't know. You guys want to flip the script over to top? See if we can get the Bears in the top 5 wide receiver duos in the NFL. Because
Let's do it, Sean. Let's do it.
I've been looking at it, man, and I hate to say it. I don't think that I do have him in the top 5 yet. And I think
I don't, Sean. I certainly do not. And I looked at the receiving. I looked at the receiving core as a whole. I didn't just do the top 2 receivers on the team. I looked at the team. Now, there are certain teams.
I just did duos.
There are certain teams where, for me personally, just the talent of the duo pushes them into the top 5 or top 10. But there's some teams on this list I have that are on this list solely because of depth, and we'll get into it. But yeah, I mean, like teams like
how many did you do? How many did you rank, Kyle J? How many did you guys rank? 10 or?
I was actually only ranking them up against the NFC North. I didn't know we were doing the entire league. So yeah. I did 4.
I got 10 in my rankings, and I got 4 honorable mentions. But I mean, none of this stuff is set in stone. Obviously, these rankings are going to change as the season gets closer, injuries or cuts, so on and so forth, or if guys are signed like Keenan Allen. But yeah, I mean, Sean, start it off. I mean, Jason, you said you only did 4, so where do you have the Bears ranked?
I did the NFC North, so I only ranked them up in there. But I would tell you right now, I think the surprise wide receiver rooms, and maybe even not a surprise, but I think one really good wide receiver room that I think got better is Tampa Bay's. I think people should really, really look out for them. Listen, follow the quarterback. Every single great quarterback is probably going to have a pretty good receiver room. Cincinnati looks pretty damn good. For some odd reason, Buffalo, if you just look at the guys, you glance at them, you're like, I don't know, but it's Buffalo. They're going to be catching a lot of balls. They're going to be doing very good up there as well. But I think my secret to success here, which I think you guys are probably high on them as well, is Tampa Bay. That, to me, that might be with Baker throwing 4,000 yards year after year after year. Then they added Mika Egbuka, right? So I mean, they're not getting worse.
Sean, who's your number 1?
My number 1 is pretty simple. Go to the Queen City, and I got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase at my number 1. I mean, they're a dynamic duo. They got Joe Burrow, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You got what's his name? Chase coming off. He can win the Triple Crown, or he did win the Triple Crown. He's coming off of the Triple Crown. 127, 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns, and then you throw in T. Higgins and they
got Yoshivas over there. They got a good tight end.
I was going to say Yoshivas, and I just saw a video yesterday. Before OTAs, these guys were working out. They're working out on a high school field together, like practicing the routes. Higgins, Chase, and Yoshivas. These guys they're my clear-cut number 1. Who's your number 1, Kyle?
Sean, I didn't do duos. I did the receiving core as a whole. So right now, I have to agree with Jason. My number 1 on my list for right now is Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, you have 2 proven studs in Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Jalen McMillan came out strong at the end of last year. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they ended a first-round talent in Emeka Egbuka, who was probably the best route runner in the draft. So if you're looking at receiving cores as a whole, which I did, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably number 1. But Sean, I mean, since you brought it up, I'll just do my number. My number 2 is the Cincinnati Bengals. And the reason I have the Bengals is number 2, even though they might not be the deepest receiving core in the league, just the fact that Jamar Chase is so dominant in the NFL. And then you take his number 2 in T. Higgins, who could be a number 1 on about 80% of the teams in the NFL. And then Isavas, like you said, you guys, he was coming on strong last year. I think he's only going to get better. I said it before on this podcast. I'll say it again, guys. I think Joe Burrow ends up being the MVP of the NFL this year. And I think he's going to throw for close to 5,000 yards. And those 3 guys we just talked about are going to have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I would say my number 2 is, believe it or not, Minnesota. I think Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson.
Well, I'm assuming if Sean's doing duos, that's probably his number 2 as well.
Yeah.
It is my number 2. Here, number 1, it's really a toss-up between Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase for who's the best wide receiver in the league, Hands down.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is like number 3 or 1A or B or whatever. Yeah.
He's really close. And I actually have the Cowboys down a couple spots. I actually have them sitting at 5, the Cowboys, and I'll explain that. I got since you guys already both kind of did it, my number 3 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because of what they have. You know, I don't know if you guys just mentioned, but they also have Jalen McMillan. Did you guys?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They have Jalen McMillan. I know Kate Otton's a tight end, but that arsenal that Baker Mayfield has in Tampa is absolutely insane. Absolutely fucking stacked.
Let's not discount Bucky Irving. He's going to be running and catching balls as well.
He will. It's a really good offense. Who you got there at number 4? I'm approaching the Bears.
Well, my number 3 is the Minnesota Vikings, guys, and like I said, they're not the deepest receiving core in the league, and I'm ranking the entire receiving core as a whole. But just the fact that the talent in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison alone, I mean, I know Rondale Moore was a really good addition for them in the offseason. I like him at number 3, but Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison is really all you need, man. Those two guys are absolutely dominant. We saw when the Bears shut down Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison absolutely exploded. I think Jordan Addison could be number 1 on most teams in the NFL. He's a really, really good receiver. Yeah, so for me, the top 3 right now would be Tampa, Cincinnati, and Minnesota.
I got Bengals, Minnesota, Tampa. So we're all kind of in the same boat, just have them ranked a little bit differently. My number 4.
Well, I didn't give you my number 3.
Oh, who's your number 3?
Honestly, if it's not Detroit, I think this year Jacksonville is going to have a very, very prolific offensive weapons at wide receiver. What?
You got them ranked above Minnesota or Cincinnati, Jason?
No, Minnesota was my number 2. Oh, and Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati's probably number 3. They're right up there, but
I would hope so. I would hope so.
You guys are talking about them, and I'm just going off of my head here. I didn't write anything down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's up, Notorious? Thanks for jumping in, bro. Appreciate it. Bear down, buddy.
Sean, I bet you I can guess your number 4.
Who you think?
You're doing duos only?
Yeah.
Is it going to be AJ Brown and Devonta Smith?
It is. The city of brotherly love and the Super Bowl defending Super Bowl champions. And yes, they are my number 4. I love me some AJ Brown. Dude, did you see AJ Brown had an interview just the other day? This dude goes, I celebrated the Super Bowl for a week. He goes, after that week, I've been in the gym every freaking day. He goes, it's time to get to work and go get another one. Hey guys, fantasy alert. This guy is putting all gas, no brakes. AJ Brown, man, I love that guy. And Devonta Smith, former Heisman Trophy winner, all he's done is come in and put up 1,000-yard seasons. He's a dependable receiver. He finds the ways to get off and finds the soft spots in the zone. Love this guy. Love the duo. I think they're great.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles are my number 4 as well, man. I got AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and I think Jahan Dotson is going to have a much bigger role now that Zacchaeus has been signed by the Chicago Bears. I think the Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, the receiving core is in the top 5 for sure, no doubt.
Well, yeah, Philadelphia. I mean, they're just so well-rounded, and they seem to stay healthy. Those two guys are both like deep ball threats. You've got a running back that's a super stud that takes a lot of the pressure off of the passing game. I don't know that they're both going to be like, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson level, but just the way that the team is structured and how well it does as a team, they're going to be putting up huge numbers. And honestly, even if it's not for fantasy football, they just are going to make big catches that help them win games to go into the playoffs and then win Super Bowls. So it's a very dangerous duo, those two.
Sean, who's your number 5?
Oh, my number 5, we're going to go to Big D. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's probably just a notch below Chase and Gordon, or Chase and Jefferson. I have a lot of questions myself about the mental status of George Pickens. If he can, stay out of trouble, keep his head in the game, in Dallas with the new regime. But CeeDee Lamb alone keeps them in the top 5 for me because the guy is CeeDee freaking Lamb. He's amazing. So he was playing on one leg last year and having 100-yard receiving games, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, like if I was doing duos, I would probably agree with you, Sean. But like I said, I just was ranking the receiving groups as a whole, and for me, it's the Houston Texans at number 5. I mean, it's just the depth is absolutely unbelievable. This might be the best overall receiving room I've ever seen in NFL history. I mean, so obviously Tank Dell is out, so they're gonna have to deal with that, but he's still on the team, so you got to put him in there. Nico Collins is their number 1. Christian Kirk is going to play that slot receiver role until Tank Dell gets back. They drafted Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. They drafted Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State 2 years ago, and they drafted John Mechie in the second round with the year before that. I mean, this team, if they sustain any injuries, they're going to be all right. I mean, unless Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel are busts, this receiving core is absolutely amazing. The only thing about the Texans is you wish, if you're a Texans fan, they'd put a little more stock into the tight end and running back. Not to say I don't like Joe Mixon or Dalton Schultz, but you have how many receivers can you have on the field at once? I mean, when you have Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Noel all healthy, who's sitting on the bench?
Yeah.
I got Dallas at 5, and it's simply because of CeeDee Lamb. No matter what you do or who you put next to CeeDee Lamb is still going to get the Lions' share of receptions there. He's also just a really good football player, misses very few games every year. If they have a very healthy, a mobile quarterback over there that's going to help them out, they're going to be just fine over there in Dallas. And honestly, their new coach is going to, I think, help that offense along quite a bit.
Well, I bet you guys won't guess who my number 6 is.
It might be my number 6.
No, Sean, my number 6 is the Dallas Cowboys because of what you guys said. CeeDee Lamb is the top 3 receiver in the NFL. George Pickens, if he can deal with those character issues and they can get him right and get him honed in, he's him and T. Higgins to me and Jordan Addison are in the conversation for who's the best number 2 in the NFL. And then you guys, honestly, I like Jalen Tolbert a lot too. I think Jalen Tolbert came on really strong last year, and he's a good number 3 receiver in the NFL, and he kind of goes under the radar. But yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are my number 6. Sean?
My number 6 is your number 5. I got the Houston Texans for the same reason that you just said, man. They're deep. They're really, really good. I'm a huge fan of Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Both these were 2 guys that when we were doing our wide receiver shows, I was like, man, if the Bears could slip and get one of these guys, on their roster, I thought they would be huge benefits. And Nico Collins, he's almost uncoverable. I mean, he's creeping up to that just below CeeDee Lamb, if not approaching CeeDee Lamb level. This guy was an absolute beast, and who knows if he didn't miss that big chunk of the season in the middle of the year, he was on pace for 2,000 receiving yards.
Yeah, he's top 5 to me, man.
Yeah,
if he stays healthy, he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. Nico Collins is almost unguardable. Even when the Bears defense was playing well last year and was shutting everybody down, that
can't stop him.
Week 2 they played the Texans. Nico Collins just absolutely ate. And
he's still barely had over 1,000 yards though. You want that season out of Nico Collins to be.
Weeks, bro.
He missed 6. He missed 5 games or 6 games, Sean?
I think it was 6 games last year.
Yeah, I mean,
you want him to have one of those years where it's up there with he should be battling CeeDee Lamb. You know what I mean, for the 3rd or 2nd spot there. But they're okay. I think I think CJ Stroud helps them out a lot. I'm not too big on Houston, to be honest with you.
Hey, in 2023, he had 80 catches for 1,297 yards, 8 touchdowns. Last year, he missed 6 games. He had 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. What do they play? They 17 games, right? He missed 5 games. He missed 5 games last year.
Yeah, so you figure he would have been somewhere around 1,400 yards. I mean, yeah, he's creeping up into that top 5 receiver in the NFL conversation.
The other guy on the other side was hurt. Tank Dell was out the entire season. So
Nico Collins is a boss, dude. That guy is.
He's high.
He's high on my fantasy list, that's for sure.
He's definitely high on
fantasy, yeah, for sure.
So, Sean, number 7, I got the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm going to put an asterisk on this one because in order for them to be number 7 and stay there for my rankings, that means Puka Nacua, Devonta Adams, and Tutu Atwell all have to stay healthy, which is something they have not proven they can do. So, I think if this receiving core stays healthy, the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFC. If you lose Puka Nacua, they drop down to like the middle tier teams of the NFC, man. That's just Puka Nacua absolutely changes this entire offense. If he's healthy, they are a force to be reckoned with. If he's not, the Rams become pretty average on paper.
I agree with you. They're my next team too. The Rams. I think Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford might be like a match made in heaven. I think those two guys are going to love each other.
Yeah.
Like, Puka is like your perfect slot guy, and Devontae Adams can take the top off a defense like nobody else, dude. He's super savvy. I think if they get their timing down early enough, watch out, dude. It could be somewhere the second half is better than the first half of the season, but if they start clicking right away, watch out, NFC.
Good
Well, I
receiving
don't have
core.
to say my number 7 because my number 7 was the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, there we go. Sean, who's your number 8?
My number, and this is where it gets a little tricky for me.
Yeah, I know where you're going. I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Man, so at 8, I have a tie. I don't really want to have a tie, but I have Detroit and the Bears tied at 8.
Wow.
I do.
You guys really like that Detroit wide receiving core.
Well, I think we can all agree Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams lived
One
up
more
to-
reception than DJ Moore. Just one more reception last year.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to this, I've said this many times. I know Detroit fans don't agree with me. Maybe you guys don't. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Moore are the same players, and they're going to be very similar when they're used in a Ben Johnson offense. I think Roma Dunze and Jameson Williams are very, very close to each other. Obviously, Jameson Williams is a little bit faster, but I think they both can take the top off the defense. I think the one thing that Rome does better is he can make those tough 6-7 yard catches in between defenders. I think he's a better overall receiver than Jameson Williams. It's not knocking Jameson Williams because I think he's a good
I was
receiver.
wrong, by the way. It's targets, not receptions.
So
Sean, it comes down to Luther Burden versus Isaac Tesla. I mean, yeah, that should have set your rankings in stone right there. I'm taking Luther Burden over Isaac Tesla all day, every day, man.
I'll give the Bears 8. I'll give the Bears 8. I'll give the Bears 8. I'm scratching Detroit off my list right now, and I'm putting them down at 9.
For me, the reason why is because Detroit is proven, and
that's the other thing.
There's still a lot of unknowns. You know, Luther Burden has got all the skill in the universe, and I pray to God he just clicks, on day one.
Yeah, but I mean, you could make an argument. I mean, Roma Dunze's had a much better start to his career than Jameson.
He's had a good arc. He's had a very good arc. He started off a little slow, which is understandable.
What did Jameson Williams have last year? He had like barely over 1,000 yards, right? Like 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah, I mean, Roma Dunze is going to be better in his second year than Jameson Williams was in his third.
I think Roma Dunze as a wide receiver skill player is better than Jameson Williams.
So yeah.
So
do
he does a lot.
I think Roma Dunze is going to be an absolute monster in the NFL for a very long time. I got the Bears at 8, man. To be honest with you guys, I know you're probably going to be mind blown here, but the Detroit Lions do not make my top 10. I'd have to see what Isaac Tesla is before you know what my number 9 is after the Chicago Bears.
Who?
Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown in Kansas City. And
if they're healthy,
this year, if these 3 guys all stay healthy,
still there.
Yeah, and if these 3 guys all stay healthy, Patrick Mahomes is going to have himself quite a season, man. Rashee Rice coming back from that injury once that suspension. If he stays healthy, if all 3 with all the growth that Xavier Worthy went through last year, how much better he was at the end of the season. If all 3 of these guys are in that offense and healthy, the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core is going to be really, really tough to stop, man.
I hate to say this too, but Jalen Royals, the rookie.
And then you make him their number 4 in case one of those guys does end up getting hurt. And you got Patrick Mahomes throwing them the ball. I think for sure, if you talk about in terms of statistics, they are in the top 10. I mean, because Patrick Mahomes is throwing them the ball.
I think scheming people open is more important than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, both of it. All of it in totality, they are my number 9 receiver.
Yeah, if you go to 4starchicagosports.com, I put out my top 10 fantasy quarterback list the other day. And number 4 was Patrick Mahomes. Even though he was a fringe top 10 fantasy quarterback last year, I think with all these weapons, and people forget, Bashard Smith, who was drafted, he may be a running back, but he's converted wide receiver. This dude will also be catching balls in that offense, I'm sure. And I'm going to go on record right now.
Yeah, the Chiefs are back, guys. It sucks. I hate to say it because I hate seeing the same teams win over. And I love parity, but man, the Chiefs. Unless they sustain some massive injuries, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Did well.
going to slip right back into
As long
dominance.
as you have Patrick Mahomes, you're in it. That's all.
And then even if Travis Kelce isn't great, I think Noah Brown is capable of picking up some of the slack, or Noah Gray can pick up some of the slack there. I mean, dude, that Kansas City Chiefs wide receiving core is going to be absolutely dangerous. And you know what? Even in fantasy, all three of these guys could be your number 2 receiver in fantasy. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, or Hollywood Brown.
I'm going to say this, guys. Don't sleep on that division, because that division is going to be one. Even the Raiders. The Raiders are not going to be an easy matchup for teams, man. Not at all. And the Chargers and the Broncos are both stacked teams. I think the Broncos, coming into the season, I think the Broncos and the Chargers have as good a chance opening up the season to win that division as the Kansas City Chiefs.
Who did the Chargers just pair up Lad McConkey with? Did they just draft a kid?
Trey Harris. Yeah.
And the Broncos paired up Patrick Surtain with what's his name? The cornerback the Bears had a top 30 visit with. Why am I drawing a blank, Sean?
Who? Cornerback
Patrick Surtain. What's the guy who was drafted, the first corner drafted in the draft, I believe.
It wasn't Will Johnson wasn't first.
No, it was the Bears top 30 visit. Anybody in the chat, help me out here.
Somebody in the chat, because it's slipping my mind.
Hang on, I got the
one that everybody said shouldn't play on the outside, but he clearly can play anywhere on the field because he's an absolute beast. I mean, the Broncos secondary is by far going to be the best secondary in the NFL. It's not even going to be close. It's not even close. It's going to be hard to pass for 200 yards on the Broncos.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That kid he's the absolute
dude. That division is freaking tough, dude. I know everyone wants to say the NFC North is the best, but I'll tell you this too. And I think I'm going to tell you,
wasn't Jordan Hancock, was it? Or
no, the guy they drafted, guys, with the guy we talked about all off season. The Denver Broncos drafted him.
Not Xavier Watts.
No.
Did he go to Denver?
Jahdae Barron. That's Jahdae Barron. That's the guy that they added to their secondary. That secondary is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And really quick, Notorious, you're saying a 4-star Chicago Sports 12-team paid league. I'm all in. Like, I would like to set up something where we get you guys joining in on like a DraftKings or a FanDuel where we all battle each other on a weekly basis, like a $5 match. You know, Jay and I have done it for years with one of our buddies, Jeff's, where we just play each other weekly, and then we can come on the shows and we can have bragging rights over one another. We're going to get this all organized as fantasy season approaches here, because I love to interact with you guys, and I think doing fantasy with y'all would be fantastic. So,
all right, Sean, who was your number 9? Did you say it? So you said
my
Detroit.
My number 9,
Detroit.
I picked Detroit.
So what do you got number 10? Let's finish this wide receiver rankings conversation.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I had the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but you kind of made me change my mind a little bit with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sean, my number 10 is the Dolphins. The Detroit Lions for me were an honorable mention, and they're amongst a bunch of other teams. But yeah, I'd take Tyreek Hill over anybody on the Lions, and Jalen Waddle's no scrub either. And then now they have Nick Westbrook-Akine, and all that guy does is catch touchdowns. He's not like amazing, but he's caught like 38 passes in the NFL, and I think 24 of them are touchdowns.
You know, you can't discount a couple of other teams like San Francisco. I think is going to be good receiver wise. Jennings and Ayuk are studs.
And then Jason, one of the teams you already mentioned, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, and Diami Brown. That team's he's finally got some people to throw the ball to there. And I think Detroit's an honorable mention, like you guys said, with Khalif Raymond, Jameson Williams, Isaac Tesla, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like the Chargers wide receiving core now with Quentin Johnson, Mike Williams, Ladd McConkey, and Trey Harris. I still like the Falcons receiving core with Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Ray McLeod. The Washington Commanders to add a Debo Samuel or to Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown. That team, their wide receiving core got better. Yeah, by the end of the season, all these rankings will be all shifted up.
These could change.
But I have the Bears in the top 10. But if Luther Burden is we all think he can be, if he can be like even as a resemblance of Antonio Brown, I think the Bears slip into the top 10 next year for sure.
If Luther Burden has like 75 to 80 receptions, man, watch out, because that means the other wide receivers are eating like big time, and the offense is clicking. So
I think the Chargers will be in the top 5 conversation next year too. Once Ladd McConkey, Trey Harris, and Quentin Johnson, whatever his name is, once they're all playing, when they're all playing healthy and well, I think Quentin Johnson was an absolute beast in TCU. I know his career started off pretty rough with a couple of injuries, but he came out pretty strong at the end of last year too, man. And you had Trey Harris. You had Antonio or you had AJ Brown?
Trey Harris, I hate to tell you guys this, but Trey Harris is going to be fantasy gold. He's going to be NFL gold. That guy.
Sean, when we did our
AJ
rankings,
Brown
he was my rookie wide receiver #1 in fantasy. Remember that?
He was
my
mine.
rookie wide receiver.
He's mine too. He's mine too. And
Yeah.
it's I'll tell you the only guy on my rankings that I think I screwed up. I had Jack Beck at 5. I think I need to move him up to 2 or 3. I think he's going to have a big year for the Raiders. I really do. I had him at 5. I had Travis Hunter. I think I had Travis Hunter at like 4. I can't remember off the
All
top of
right,
my
so we all kind of came to an agreement. Like we all basically have the Bears at 8, right? So they're in
Yeah.
the top 10. They're in the top 10 with potential to move into the top 5 if everything pans out and everything works out right for them. I think they could end up being a top 5 receiving core in the NFL. But I like our rankings, guys. I mean, I think there's no way you can keep Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase out of the top 5.
God, no.
And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you have 2 proven studs in Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Oh yeah, by the way, they had Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka. That team's going to be absolutely a force to be right. You talk about fantasy quarterbacks who have good seasons. How can Baker Mayfield not have a good season? I mean,
Baker Mayfield's value is going to be absurd because you'll probably be able to pick him up in like the 7th round.
Oh yeah, and their tight ends no scrub either. Oh yeah, and then he's dumping the ball off to Bucky Irving and Rashad White. I mean, he is primed to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Baker Mayfield?
Oh yeah,
I had Baker Mayfield. I think I had Baker Mayfield 4 on my quarterback list.
Yeah, you guys, I think we're all pretty much in agreement, right? You got Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Los Angeles Rams, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Philadelphia Eagles, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase, D. Higgins. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a plethora of options. Who pick one? I don't care. I'd say we're all in pretty much in agreement here. The only difference is I had the Kansas City Chiefs in my top 10, but I think
it's
that's
nice
pretty
to
much
see some more NFC teams on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad that they're teams the Bears are playing.
Yeah.
The Vikings, the Lions, and the Eagles, and the Cowboys. We got to play all those guys. I mean, it's going to be a long season for the
Well,
Chicago
hey,
Bears.
then maybe we should give Pull some credit for building up that secondary of ours. As long as it can stay healthy.
That's how you win in the NFL, man. You got to stop these quarterbacks.
I had Baker Mayfield at 5. I won Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Caleb, Daniels, Goff, Justin Herbert, and my honorable mention was Bo Nix.
I think I put Daniels at 6. Pretty much everything.
I wanted to bring this up. About the Washington Redskins and the problems that I think, because I can't remember, and I should have wrote this down when I read this article the other day, and I failed to do it.
So sooner or later, one of these days, you're going to say the Washington Commanders.
I never will. If you go back and you look at the last 6 weeks, I believe it was the last 6 weeks of the Washington Redskins season last year. Go look at the quarterbacks they played. They were either the backup's backup or a backup or a rookie. They literally played no quarterbacks. They got into the playoffs and they played a very good end of the schedule.
And Sean, Jason and I have both talked about how we believe that Jane Daniels is probably going to regress a little bit, but at the same time, man, when you're talking about fantasy football, he runs. As long as you run, you're going to be a stud in fantasy football. He just offers such
RG3 ran a lot too. How long did he last?
I was talking about them as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, but Lamar Jackson runs too. Is he another Lamar Jackson? You got Lamar Jackson in your
team in Baltimore.
Yeah, you got your Lamar Jackson in your top 3. I mean, they just added a wide receiver and a left tackle in Washington.
Lamar Jackson's done it year after year after year.
Listen, I'm just saying, Jaden Daniels for me, in terms of fantasy, is in the top 6. If a guy can run the ball and has the arm that he has, I mean, Jaden Daniels has proven he can pass the ball, guys. It's not a question.
If he's available for me, I'll probably draft him.
Yeah. And all those passes he dropped into Terry McLaurin's hands, you don't think he's capable of doing that with Deebo Samuel or throwing him a little hitch route and watch him run down the 50 yards down the field and score a touchdown? I think he's going to have a very good season. I just think it's, in terms of fantasy, he's going to be pretty much right where he ended up last year, which was what? Top 6, top 7?
Here, check this out. I don't even need to find the article, but the Commanders, that their end of the stretch of the season last year. I just called them the Commanders because I'm reading the fucking screen. The Saints had Jack Hayner was their starter against him. Then it was Michael Penix's debut in the NFL. Then it was followed up by the Panthers, who I believe Bryce Young did not play in that game. They lost 40-7. Then they played the Giants. I don't even know. I can look in there who the Giants quarterback was. It was Daniel Jones that day. He was 20 for 26, 174, but he sucks. Then the Eagles, they played the Eagles, which was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was in that game. That was
So
the
you got
big.
one.
That was the big comeback. But then they played Will Levis.
Oh,
Then
God.
they played the Eagles without Jalen Hurts. Kenny Pickett.
So,
started
what
that
are you talking? Are you referring to what you think the Washington Commanders' record is going to be, or
I
who?
think-
I
yes,
mean, Jaden
I
Daniels
think-
playing
I
on the
think
field has
I
nothing to do with the
overranked them.
opposing quarterback.
No, I think I overrank them because I didn't realize when you go to 6 of their last 8 weeks, they were playing me at quarterback. That's
He's just
not
saying for the
good.
wins, yeah, which might be part of that adversity, equation that we've been talking about.
No, you guys,
is-
the Washington Commanders are not going to the NFC Championship game.
No, I
They're
don't
not
know
going
if they're
to the
going to
NFC
have a
Championship.
winning record because that defense didn't get better, and they're in one of the toughest divisions in football. So, and I
It
hate
wouldn't
to say-
surprise me.
love
I
to
think they're
say
going to
that.
be a fringe team just like the Bears, and I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels' stats are going to be very comparable again. I think they're going to be very close again. I think you're going to watch both these guys slowly grow and develop as the years go on. And this year, I believe I've talked about this before. I believe Jaden Daniels is going to have to make an adjustment because I think the NFL is going to adjust to him, and I think at some point
that primetime matchup is going to be fun to watch. I'll tell you that.
And you guys, one of these days, I know he's gadgety, and I know he avoids really big hits, but one of these days he's not going to see it coming, and he's going to get hit by somebody very hard. And Jaden Daniels is a tiny, tiny little guy, so I don't wish anybody get hurt, but he needs to be. He better be careful because he already had some torn cartilage in between his ribs last year. It can get much
He's
worse
also
than that.
37 years old, dude. He's old.
All right, Sean. Well,
Sean,
let's continue this Bears skill position group rankings. Where did you
Yeah,
guys
well,
did you guys do your tight ends?
The one thing I wanted to touch on, Kyle, because I know you told me you didn't get to hear all the press conferences today. Ben Johnson did touch on the left tackle position today.
Yeah.
Isaac Trubilo did play all the first team reps, Karan Amagashi at the last OTAs. He came out and said, this position is going to change at every single practice. It's going to be musical chairs. Nobody is set in stone. They asked him about Darnell Wright. He said, Darnell Wright's not even a lock at right tackle. He goes, we're going to wait. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. I think that's blowing smoke so he can stick to his depth chart with no depth chart because I think we all know Darnell Wright better be the freaking starter on the right side of this line. But it's nice to hear that. It's nice to see that. So we're going to see a lot more rotation. He said all the way up until training camp, he said we'll make some decisions as we get closer there until Braxton gets healthy. It did seem like, Kyle, and you or Jay, you heard this today. It did seem like Braxton Jones is still the starter based on what he said because it's not going to be a revolving door until he starts.
Yeah, and I've said that before. I think Braxton Jones starts the season as a starter, and I believe that it is going to be a revolving door in training camp and in the preseason. But to be
unless
honest
somebody
with you,
blows it out of the water and there's still
Well,
injury concerns with Braxton Jones,
plus you guys, if you're the Bears front office or if you're Ben Johnson, Ozzie Trapilo was a second round pick. This is a guy who they believe can be a starting tackle in the NFL, and he is their guy.
Right.
Ben Johnson picked Ozzie Trapilo. He didn't pick Ron Amagaji, and he didn't pick Braxton Jones. So do I think that Braxton Jones will start the season as the starting left tackle? Sure. But I believe ultimately, guys, at the end of the day, when they believe he's ready, when they think he's ready to start in the NFL, that is Ozzie Trapilo's job to lose. I really do. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they draft another left tackle next year after Braxton Jones leaves. But I think if Braxton Jones gets hurt week 4 and Ozzie Trapilo comes in to start, he is never losing that job ever again. And that's just me personally. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that is his job.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Hey, and really quick, I want to give a shout out to Tom Flores from our Dart League. You know Tom, big time Bears fan, Jay. He wears Bears every week to darts. He checked in. He gave us a like on Facebook. He's watching on Facebook. Tom, you're a first-time watcher. We talked to you on Tuesday. You said you were going to watch the show today, so we appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Well, Sean, isn't this Jimmy Bruce Willis? Isn't
it?
Yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
I just noticed that. That is Jimmy.
Yeah.
What's up, Jimmy Stein?
Yeah, like I was when he first came in here. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Jimmy. That looks like Jimmy.
I didn't look down at the icons, but that's a good catch. What's up,
Yeah.
Jimmy Stein? How you doing, bud?
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for
guys.
checking in as well.
Yeah, everybody, Notorious, Mr. I don't even know how you say his name there. Mr.
I saw Crooked Commission there.
Crooked Commish, Ron Warski. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate it. Please hit that like and
Notorious
subscribe
TDG.
button if you haven't already. We now have 30 people watching live. If you're watching on Twitter, please jump over to YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Sean, do you want to get into it? Did you do any tight end rankings or?
I didn't do any tight end rankings, but I mean, if you wanted me to rank the Bears, I mean, they're going to be at the bottom of my list right now until Colston Loveland, I mean, when you talk about
Well, Sean, I mean, but honestly,
No,
go
no.
look at the rest of the teams in the NFL. There's not that many really good backup tight ends. I mean, even if Colston Loveland's like average, that's pretty much every backup tight end in the NFL. Like, there's not the only team on my list the team I ranked number one, where I believe both guys have proven themselves to be starting tight ends in the NFL, is the Baltimore Ravens with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Outside of that,
Well, here.
there's not that many teams who have two starting caliber tight ends on their team.
And again, I'm not going to put the cart in front of the horse here and say that Colston Loveland is a starter. I know there's a lot of hype around him. He has not touched the grass in a professional NFL game yet. So let him earn those stripes. I'm not just going to give them to him, but that's me. That's just me.
Well, I took the time to rank the tight end tandems in the NFL, these duos, right? Because there's basically only two on every team in the NFL, or at least two that catch the ball. So I'm going to give you guys my rankings, and then you guys tell me what you think about the list, all right?
Sure.
Let's do it.
So number one, I have the Baltimore Ravens with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely.
They're terrible.
Number two, the Las Vegas Raiders with Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Number three,
it's mostly Brock Bowers there.
Yeah, well, he's going to be the best tight end in the NFL. That's why he moves them all the way up to number two, right? Number three, the Kansas City Chiefs with Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, two guys who have proven they're both capable pass catchers in the NFL. Number four, the Chicago Bears with Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, obviously based off of projections, hoping that Colston Loveland is a starting tight end in the NFL at some point in his career. Number five, the Buffalo Bills with Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and they just drafted a guy by the name of Jackson Hawes, who I think is also going to be a decent player in the NFL. Number six, the Green Bay Packers with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. Number seven, the Los Angeles Rams with Tyler Higbee and their newly acquired tight end in the
Thanks for
draft,
checking in, Jimmy.
Terrence Ferguson. Number eight,
number
eight, the Philadelphia Eagles with Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra, I think is how you say his name.
I'd probably put Philly at 4.
Number nine,
hold on, Kyle. Go back to 4, 5, 6. Sorry.
So Ravens, Raiders, Chiefs, Bears, Bills, Packers, Rams, Eagles.
Bills, Packers. I'm missing a couple here, but that's okay.
And then I got at number 9, I got the Detroit Lions with Sam Laporta and Brock Wright. And like Jason, like you said, just because of how good Sam Laporta is, and Brock Wright is capable, we've seen him catch touchdowns. And then my number 9 and 10, I don't even know who the backups are. Like, I know their names, but they don't do anything. But you have to put George Kittle and the San Francisco 49ers in there, and Trey McBride and the Arizona Cardinals in there, just because those are probably the two best tight ends in the NFL outside of Brock Bowers. Right? So they have to be on the list. Their backup, George Kittle's backup is Luke Farrell, and Trey McBride's backup is Tip Raymond. I didn't know that guy existed. But just because of how good those two guys are, they have to be in the top 10 for tight end rooms in the NFL.
Because those guys are that good, and Trey McBride has shown the ability to stay on the field.
He's my favorite tight end in the NFL. Trey McBride's my favorite tight end.
I had him last year and I loved him.
He's been my favorite tight end, but nonetheless,
he will be supplanted by Brock Bowers, but
nonetheless. He will not be for me. Trey McBride's my guy. I busted him on the scene.
I'm talking about statistically, not like if guys you like. I think Brock Bowers is going to have the best statistics.
It's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. Kyler Murray loves the old Trey McBride.
I mean, Sean, they had very similar seasons last year, and Brock Bowers was a rookie on the Raiders.
Well,
they both had 1,000 yards.
I'm sticking with Trey McBride. I think Bowers is great too. Don't get me wrong. I want him to be a Bear, but I don't. For me, I wouldn't do. I would just do straight up. I mean, I understand what you're doing with the rooms, but if Trey McBride and
Sean, don't break Bears fans' hearts, because if you're just doing the number 1 tight end, the Bears might drop out of the top 10.
That's what I'm saying. Colston Loveland doesn't have any history in the NFL. I can't rank him high and say that's a good room, because the other guy is Durham Smythe. I mean, serviceable blocker, but not a good receiver.
Yeah, but I mean, we just did some of the same with the wide receiver rooms when we were talking about like the Texans and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. That's the reason the Texans have slipped into the top 5 or top 10 in the wide receivers. You can do the same thing for tight ends.
Well, for me, Kyle, you know how much I love Christian Kirk. So Christian Kirk and Nico Collins is good enough for me to move them up in the rankings. Myself, I know other people on our show don't you know.
I don't know, you guys. I would be listen. I'm not saying obviously this is all based off projections because I don't.
Sure.
I love Terrence Ferguson, and that's why I put the Los Angeles Rams in the top 10 because obviously Tyler Higbee's serviceable. I don't think he's like a star, but Terrence Ferguson who has star potential. But I mean, if you're going based off projections, I don't think Colston Loveland's going to be a bust. I'm not saying he's going to be the best tight end in the NFL or Travis Kelce, but I think he's going to be Cole Kmet or better for me personally. That's what I think. So if you took the tight end tandems, I have the Bears in the top 10. And you guys, this is kind of the way the NFL is going. These Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland. These teams are Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra. These teams are starting to use 2 tight ends. This is kind of the way this 12 personnel is becoming very popular.
Because you got 2 extra guys on the line who are also pass catchers. It really opens up what your offense can do. You know, those guys are both eligible. But they can block at the run game. You can do so many things, and I think that's one of the key parts to making an offense look similar but do different things. You know?
Sean, if you guys are talking about, and Jason, sorry to interrupt, but if you're talking about just the top 10 single tight ends in the NFL, this would all be.
Jonnu Smith is like number 7 at that point.
I would have Trey McBride probably number 1 until Brock Bowers can prove he could do it consistently. Brock Bowers would probably be number 2 just based off the season he had last year. I'd put George Kittle at number 3. Travis Kelce number 4 only because he's aging. He's only getting older. I'd probably put Mark Andrews at number 5 and then probably go Sam Laporta, Dallas Goedert, Cole Kmet, Dalton Kincaid, Tucker Kraft, Tyler Higbee.
I was going to say for me, Dallas Goedert, and people, you know, you guys, I know we're not Philadelphia savants, but you watch when Dallas Goedert is out and how the Eagles offense declined without him last year. It was a struggle, or maybe it wasn't last year, it was the year before because they had Barkley to take it up. But Goddard is such an integral part of what they do in Philadelphia. He's higher. He's way high. I love Dallas Goedert. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and you know what, Sean? I think if Dallas Goedert was on a different team,
Njoku's a good one too. David Njoku.
I didn't even think about Njoku. He should have been in there
He's
too.
He's got to stay healthy.
But I don't know who the Browns' other tight end is. Remember, I did duos, so I still don't know if they make my top 10. But Sean, you talk about guys who are just. I think Dallas Goedert could be an absolute machine or beast, but he's on a team that throws for 2,800 yards a year, and they run the ball 90% of the time. And I love Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert was on my fantasy team a couple of years ago, and he was great.
And when they're on the 1 yard line, they're not throwing it; they're running it. You know.
You want to jump on with us, Ron? Jump on in, brother. Look me up on Messenger. I'll send you a link on Facebook Messenger. I'll send you a link. I will say this. And for Dustin, hey man, I'm not. If that's your opinion, I respect it. I cannot put love.
He hasn't played a snap yet. You can't do that.
I think he's being sarcastic. Yeah. I don't think he thinks Loveland's the best.
I don't think he does either.
Yeah, he might.
No,
you guys, if you're talking about careers, what they've done and what they're going to do still left, even if they're old, they only have a couple years left. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the NFL. He's one of the best tight ends in NFL history. He might be the best tight end in the history of football. So yeah, he would still be your number 1, but I'm just based off the projections. Like if Brock Bowers continues to do what he did last year, he's also going to be in the conversation for best tight end in NFL history. Now, obviously that's based off of health. He has to stay healthy. But
Foster, Adkins, other tight end on Browns, who's throwing to them?
Yeah, I was going to say Foster. Another thing about Njoku, who I like, and Foster, I should not have forgotten about him. He should have been in my list. But another thing about him is his statistics are going to be hurt just solely based off the fact that their quarterbacks are going to be atrocious, just absolutely atrocious.
Well, who is their quarterback going to be? I mean, you don't even know.
Joe Flacco,
maybe.
You guys tell me.
They drafted 2. I mean,
maybe Deshaun Watson. Watch, dude.
Watch. Derek Sanders is going to be like the best quarterback ever play football. Knowing our luck, that douchebag's
don't ever fucking say that again. No, I'll put it down. What other? We did wide receivers. I mean, I don't know if we want to go in running back rooms because
our running back room's not going to be top 10.
I don't think the Bears are rocking the.
Well, you guys, I did the running back rooms, and I actually did. You want to hear some dedication to the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast and the Barely There. I ranked every team in the NFL, and you guys, it is bleak for the Chicago Bears, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
They are not in the top 20. Fine. We're not even going to do it because I'm sure you guys didn't rank them, but here are teams here's running back rooms I would take over the Chicago Bears. How about that? The Detroit Lions, Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery. The Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. The San Francisco 49ers, if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, with Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Guerrero, and Jordan James. The Atlanta Falcons with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. The Seattle Seahawks with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. The Philadelphia Eagles with Saquon Barkley and Will Shipley. The Miami Dolphins with Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, and Ollie Gordon. The New England Patriots with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. The Cleveland Browns with Jerome Ford, Quinshon Judkins, and Dylan Sampson. The Pittsburgh Steelers with Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. The Los Angeles Rams with Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and Jarquez Hunter. The Buffalo Bills with James Cook, Ray Davis, and Ty Johnson. The Cincinnati Bengals with Chase Brown, Zach Moss. The Green Bay Packers with Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd. Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Bucky Irving, Rashad White. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are teams I would take over the Bears running back room right now as it stands today. Any single one of the teams I just mentioned.
There's a lot.
It's sad. It's sad.
I wouldn't put it up there. You know, and if you want to go secondaries, I got the Bears. I got the Bears secondary probably only behind the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, they're top three. They're top
the
three.
Bears secondary.
Again, this is all if healthy too, right? Always.
No, I have no doubt in my mind the Bears secondary, if healthy and our starters are on the field, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, the top five for me, if you're talking about secondaries, I think obviously the Broncos are number one. The Bears are definitely in the conversation for top five. I think the Seattle Seahawks, if we're talking about the tandem, just the duo, they're number one and number two. The Seattle Seahawks should be in that top five list. Who else who are we forgetting? We're forgetting one team that has amazing Sean, what team had a secondary last year that was shutting down everybody?
The Eagles
are in that conversation. Yeah, but it took the Eagles a little while to get going last year. Their secondary didn't start. Yeah, but once those young kids got going, listen, they have Vic Fangio.
The defensive line there, though, when you have a
that's a product of Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is a magician. That guy is like my favorite defensive coordinator in NFL history. I absolutely love that guy. Outside of Buddy Ryan.
Byard already, but I love Byard. I love that he stayed here another week or another year, and I think he's going to be such a solid piece in the secondary. You get Brisker back, you have Byard back there, you have.
Oh, Sean, I can tell you the best. I can tell you the best safety tandem is in the NFL without even thinking about it or looking at a piece of paper. The Baltimore Ravens are going to have the best safety tandem, and maybe in the history of if Starks ends up being the guy that they all said he's going to be, and he's playing next to Kyle Hamilton. I mean, you guys, that is the best safety tandem I've ever seen in my life.
They're going to need it over there because they're in a really tough division.
Yeah, we'll see them. We'll see them down the road. I think the parity in the NFL right now is fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing. And this is why the NFL is so much better than baseball, right? This is why it's so much better than baseball. Like if baseball could find a way to do this, more people would watch baseball. But the NFL, you never know who's going to win. You absolutely never know who's going to win. You can have your thought. You could be like, I think it's going to be the Chiefs or Eagles. But then there's that year where some other team steps up and win. You just never know who's going to win. You never know who's going to be
Cincinnati and Detroit. You know,
Don't they have? Doesn't the NFL have an average of 4 brand new playoff teams a year? Isn't that? I think that's the thing.
Something like that. It might even be higher than that.
Yeah, I think 4 or 5. That's amazing.
That's what they want, though. They want more teams. Otherwise, those markets die off. And except Detroit, those fans they don't care.
Sure, if I just put a question up, but he has to be watching on Facebook or something because it didn't. It just popped up on my screen, but it disappeared, and I don't know where it went.
What was the question?
I didn't. It says Dante Purify commented and left the question, and then it disappeared. So Dante, I'm sorry, I cannot find it. I'm trying to look on my phone. I don't know where it went. So
well,
sorry
you guys, I mean, so I think we're, in terms of our positions, skill positions groups, we're all pretty much on the same page, right? Bears are top 10 wide receivers, but they're definitely not top 5. The top and tight ends, they're top 10 for sure, no doubt about it. Could probably fall into the top 5 by the end of the season if Colston Loveland pans out and ends up being a top 10 pick in the draft. Sure. Be playing like a top 10 pick in the draft. And then running backs, they're outside the top 20 for sure, right? Not even a question.
Well, and you know what? I'll tell you what. I don't think that Swift had as bad of a year as people think. It was bad because the Bears are just awful in general. I think as a whole, the Bears have a lot of questions. Even in our wide receiver room, we don't know where all those targets are going to go. Whoa. Is it all going to go to the wide receivers? I mean, we've got 2 tight ends now that need to eat. You know, I'm sure he's going to want to pass the ball to DeAndre every once in a while. I mean, we don't know what's going to really happen. You're hoping,
Well,
I'm
Jason, another problem with the Bears running back room is all those guys that I just listed to you guys, all those teams that have better running backs room than the Bears, every single one of them has a running back that can do everything. The Bears don't. Like, I don't think that DeAndre Swift is capable of running between the tackles. Like, if you look at a guy like Ramondre Stevenson, he can catch and he can run. Devon Achane, he can catch, he can run. Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Kyron Williams. These guys on those lists can all do everything. The Bears, I think the Bears are going to be one of those teams where, depending on what running backs on the field, you kind of know what they're going to do. And that's something you never want when you're playing in the NFL. You don't want to be predictable. And if DeAndre Swift is in the field, do you think the opposing defense is going to be like, the Bears are running it in between the center and the left guard? No. Maybe if Kyle Monunga is on the field, they're running it between the center and left guard, or Roshan Johnson, but not if DeAndre Swift's on the field. I don't believe so. Maybe once in a blue moon.
Rushing yards per game last year.
Yeah, not good.
No,
not good. That's probably where I would rank them in the running back.
Cincinnati was 30th.
Yeah, but Chase Brown took a while to get going last year, so he's going to be a really good player next year.
Too, with DeAndre Swift, he was the only running back in the league. I'm just trying to get this up really quick. He was the only running back in the league to have over 200 rushing attempts and average less than 4 yards a carry last year.
Yeah, like Jason said, though, the offensive line certainly, and the scheme Shane Waldron drew up certainly did not help him in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, that's my point. They're ranked 25th in rushing yards last year. They're ranked 25th in running back rooms in the NFL. For me personally,
yeah,
they're in the bottom 10.
I'll be perfectly honest. When you sit here and you look at it, for his career, he averages 4.5 yards a carry. On Detroit, he averaged 5.5, 4.6, 4.1.
Yeah.
On Philly, 4.6. So he's definitely capable.
Bears 3.6.
Yeah,
it was the offensive line.
Capable of bouncing back and being.
Well, I like
you hope the offensive line makes the running game better. That's what you really hope.
Especially the interior of that offensive line. Like, I like DeAndre Swift, guys. I think he's a playmaker, and I think if you get the ball in his hands, good things happen. The problem is, I think DeAndre Swift has a very limited skill set. I don't think he can do everything. All the other running backs in the NFL, all the star running backs, Ashton Jeanty, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, these guys can do whatever the team wants them to do. They can do it. They are 3-tool play. They can do whatever they want them to do. The Bears don't have that running back, at least not a star. Like, maybe Roshan Johnson can do everything, but he's not a star. He's certainly not a star.
I don't know if he can do everything, but we'll see.
I don't know if he can do anything, but I think he can run between the tackles to get you the tough yards. And I think
but can he catch the ball?
Yeah, but you know what? I will tell you what. If you watch, you watch the teams like Philadelphia and Detroit, and you watch the holes, the gaps that their offensive lines make. I know there's some really good running backs, but there's a lot of times when any running back in the league could have run through that hole.
Sure.
So that's what you're really hoping for. You're hoping for the scheme and that offensive line to open up wide holes to where, you know what, he's getting 6 yards.
Jason, that's a great point, because we saw DeAndre Swift had those runs in between the guards and centers and tackles on the Eagles. He did that.
Yeah.
And he had gains of 10, 15, 20, 25, but it's because they were opening up massive holes because of the best offensive line in football. Like, I think DeAndre Swift is capable of being all around running back, but not if he doesn't have a lot of help. And the Bears
he's not the guy that's going to win you the game. Let's just put it that way.
And he's not going to get you the 3 toughest yards in football. I mean, we gave the ball to DeAndre Swift at the 1 yard line against Indianapolis, and he lost 5. I mean, that's who DeAndre Swift is.
Hey guys, really quick, we got DJ Profit in the house. Don't know that I've seen him before. We're going to fire up this applause for you, bud. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I agree with what DJ says here. He says we just need him to be serviceable. We're not asking him to run for 2,000 yards like Saquon. I agree with you, man. That's why this is going to be a running back by committee for the Chicago Bears. It's going to be a very even split. Obviously, DeAndre Swift will probably take 55, 60% of the carries, but then it's going to be pretty much evenly split up behind that with Kyle Monunga, Roshan Johnson, Ian Wheeler, whoever else they decide to keep on this roster.
Deion Hankins guy, watch him. He's basically a Roshan Johnson clone. And like I said, I don't know if he's going to make the team, but I guarantee he was brought in to basically serve a notice to Roshan Johnson, like, dude, you don't have to play if you don't want to. We got another guy. I got you. Yeah, and you know what, Kyle? You got to think that running back is going to be the priority in the draft next year.
Right? Oh, for sure. And you guys, Sean, you want to talk about a perfect transition? the next part of our show, we're talking about the competition, the battles, and training camp and preseason, and who the Bears fans should keep their eye on. This is why I don't think the Bears running back room is in the top 20, because I think that if, say, Roschon Johnson ends up being a really good running back, like they thought he was going to be when they drafted him, he could probably supplant DeAndre Swift as the starter, and DeAndre Swift just becomes a third down back. Like, I think that's not possible. Like, that's one of the battles I would keep my eye on if I'm a Chicago Bears fan. Keep your eye on the running back room and training camp and in the preseason, because if a guy like Ian Wheeler comes out and looks like he did last year in preseason, that should become your starting running back. That guy should be your starting running back.
I agree with what DJ Prophet says here, man. His dynamic ability out of the backfield will be what Ben leans on. He's building a playbook for everyone's strengths. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, but you guys, he had the same dynamic backfield 4 years ago when he was a much younger player, and Ben Johnson traded him out of Detroit.
Well, that was Swift and Jamal Williams. I mean, I don't think that this backfield's any different.
I think it was a money move too.
I don't know. Listen, I have nothing against DeAndre Swift. The Bears running back room is not. It's not
good.
It's disappointing. It's a Bears fan. It's disappointing because
part of their team besides
you guys. I was going to talk about this earlier today. How did the Bears win their championship in '85, and how did they win? How did they go to the Super Bowl in '06, guys?
It was Walter Payton and Thomas Jones.
and Brian Urlacher and Mike Singletary. What are the two weakest position groups on the Bears right now?
I'm not ready to put that label on Tremaine Edmonds yet, dude. He's finally got a defensive coordinator that'll understand his needs.
You could also
he's going to bounce back and be that Pro Bowl type.
I hope so. But all we can do is go off what we've seen in the last since he's been here. And since he's been here, he hasn't been good. He just hasn't been good. And maybe he was put in the wrong position, and it's not his fault. But regardless whether or not it's his fault, regardless of the reasons, I still have to judge a player based off his performance. And regardless of why it was a poor performance, it's been a poor performance for Tremaine Edmonds. This is Sean. He's going into the last year of his contract.
Who was that?
Tremaine Edmonds, or he was a 3 or 4? No, he was a 4 year, so he's going to 30. But I mean, you've already wasted. He was a $78 million player. You've already wasted this money on Tremaine Edmonds. This is what I'm talking about. Like, if you're not ready to win a championship, don't sign massive contracts, because you're just wasting these years of these guys. And Sean, we heard it from the podcast you watched. Why draft a running back if you know you're going to suck for the next 3 years? You're just taking 3 years off of his football life, his prime. Yeah. It's the same thing can be said for Tremaine Edmonds. Like if
I mean, when we talk about these camp battles coming up, I think an interesting camp battle for me is going to be linebacker, because I touched on it on Monday, and I touched on it, I think, on a show before. I do think Noah Sewell is finally going to have some time to play on this football team and earn a spot. And again, if you go back and look at his college tape, you go look at him, read his scouting coming out. I mean, this guy was a terror on the football field for Oregon. He's never been used by the Bears. Like, just holds a clipboard. Either he sucks, or it's what I said on Monday, contract based. So the players ahead of him have to get the playing time because they have the bigger contracts. His spot can't be earned unless someone.
Yeah, but no, it couldn't have been that though, because the guy ahead of him had like the cheapest contract in the universe. What's his nuts? Homer that just went to Dallas.
Yeah, and real quick, DJ Prophet says, I also don't think Ben traded anyone. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson traded him off the team. What I'm saying is, if Ben Johnson loved DeAndre Swift, was like, he's a crucial, integral part of my offense, the front office wouldn't be trading him. They would be like, oh, you need DeAndre Swift to run the offense that you're running to make this scheme work. We'll keep him. They did not hesitate to get rid of him. That's all I'm saying. I don't hate DeAndre Swift. I think he's a good player. I just think he has a very particular skill set. Yeah, Shashan, you think that linebacker is the biggest position battle in training camp?
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's left tackle, but I think when you look at linebacker, there's still a spot open on the weak side. So I think you have to look.
And do you guys believe that it's between Ruben Hippolyte and Noah Sewell? Do you think that Amen is going to have any chance?
I don't.
He's going to rotate in too.
They might rotate him in, but he's not the size, type, and speed that they're really looking for. He's good, but I think it's between Sewell and Hippolyte. I honestly do. Especially if you're going to draft Hippolyte that early, that means that you think he's going to contribute right away, right? That otherwise, then you're definitely a braggadocious guy just picking.
Yeah. So when it comes to position battles to walk in training camp and preseason, I think you're right, Sean. I think that outside linebacker is probably the number one position battle to be watching outside of left tackle. And the only problem with left tackle guys is you're not going to see Braxton Jones.
You know what? A close third. Yeah. The close third for me is defensive end.
I was going to say, for me, it's okay if I don't see Braxton Jones because in this preseason, I want to see as much of Trapilo and Amagaji as I possibly
and you know what? I think they need the experience. I think they need to play against other NFL players. I don't think sitting on the bench is helping them in any way, shape, or form. That's like we talked about. The Bears were never really good at developing their talent. Well, this is a new coaching staff. I think you're going to see a lot of Ruben Hippolyte. I think you're going to see a lot of Ozzie Trapilo. I think you're going to see a lot of Kyle Monangai in the preseason. I think they want to know what they have here. And the only way for these guys to learn is to get actual NFL action. So, Sean, what would be your second, outside of left tackle and outside linebacker, what's your third most intriguing position battle to watch?
It's got to be defensive end.
Yeah, I'm with Jay. Edge.
So you're talking about between like what, Deo and Austin Booker probably?
Well, Montez is going to start on the side. You know that for sure, right? You're paying the guy $100 million. Is it Deo Adingbo? Is it your boy from Kansas, Sean? Who is it? Who's going to come up and play? Don't be surprised if Shamar winds up playing a little bit of defensive.
You have Daniel Hardy there.
Yeah.
Dominic Robinson had some flashes.
I'm done with Dominic Robinson.
I'm done with Dominic Robinson too. Yeah,
but I think Daniel Hardy certainly could be in that conversation. But yeah, Sean, you're right. I mean, you're both right. Deo and Austin Booker should be a very intriguing battle to watch because if Deo is the guy he was in Indianapolis, and we keep talking about, but he gets pressure, but he's not sacking the quarterback. And Austin Booker comes out and has 4 sacks in the preseason. There's a very good chance Austin Booker starts opposite Montez Sweat.
Austin Booker's been putting some weight on too.
We have a little bit of DJ Profit says Dominic is gone, and One Chains No Bracelets says it's a Dominic Robinson revitalization year. I am going to be with DJ Profit on this one. I've seen about enough Dom Robinson for my liking.
Yeah. He's had a shot. And he really hasn't done it.
I think he's a cut candidate, guys. I think he's.
I think honestly, I not just because he's a Jayhawk, but they were big on Austin Booker. And if you actually go back, and I actually watched last year's draft, 1920 draft. This the polls zeroed in on Booker. He wanted Booker. He believes in Booker. So I think Booker's going to get on.
Yeah.
Will he be the guy?
Is he Dennis Allen's guy is the question.
Yeah.
Is that Dennis Allen like Austin
Dennis
Booker?
Allen liked his size, but he wanted more weight because defensive line, he wants weight. So if Booker, and I was watching some of the OTAs, on the 1920 drive, it looks like he's put on probably like 10 or 15 pounds, but that could just be me. I mean, I don't know how much he weighs, just an eyeball test, but if he can put on those 15 pounds and maintain speed and strength, or even get stronger, you might want to watch out because his speed is not his problem. It's really just his strength and being able to over is getting his bull rush to overcome those tackles. Because that's all going to be a left tackle that he's facing.
Yeah, and DJ Prophet says here, he says, if they were that big on Booker, why did we pay for Day? Well, first of all, DJ, it's a rotation. Like a defensive end is always going to be a rotation.
You got 4 tackles.
Right. And secondly, on top of that, DJ, I think the reason you're seeing the Bears spend a lot of money on the offensive line, the defensive line, all around the board is because they know they have to pay Caleb Williams in 2 years. And when he's on his rookie contract is when you go all out and try to build the best roster you possibly can. That helps him develop into a player that can ultimately make players around him better. And they don't have to pay. Well, they're not going to be able to pay everybody in 3 or 4 years because Caleb Williams is going to be making $60 million a year. So they're trying to, what you do is they're doing exactly right. Put a really, really good team around him. Help him learn and develop. And then once he's learned and developed and he's an NFL seasoned vet and he knows what every defensive front looks like, then you can start you put all your money into Caleb and you don't have to spend so much money on every single receiver and every single defensive end and you're going to have some okay players and Caleb Williams is going to have to carry this team. That's what happens.
Well, you hope that you are developing young talent. You've got your core that are staying healthy, and now you've got them helping teach and bring up these young guys. So when they're on their second or third contract and they're not worth it, you've got a guy there to replace them.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to see how it works, just look at Philadelphia.
The Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyree, you guys tell me if you disagree with this statement, Sean. The Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl early on in Patrick Mahomes' career. And obviously Patrick Mahomes had a lot to do with it, right? Absolutely amazing player, even in his rookie season, sure. second season, great player, right? But as young as he was and still learning Andy Reid's office for the first 2 seasons of the NFL, Don't you believe that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce had a lot to do with him winning that Super Bowl? Okay, now the second he got comfortable in the NFL, and they were like, I think Patrick Mahomes can make everybody around him better. They were like, hey, take it easy, Tyreek Hill. Thanks for your services here. And what did they do? They won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill and not much of a receiving core. I think the Bears have the same kind of mentality. Like, hey, give this guy really good talent, let him get used to the NFL. The second the NFL slows down for him, he's good enough to carry the tide that raises all boats, as Dustin says. You don't have to have absolute studs all over across the field. You just expect Caleb Williams to be good enough to outscore the other team.
Well, yeah, at that point, you just need guys in the right spot at the right time and trust your quarterback's going to get them the ball. But, it sounds easy. We got a long way to get there. I wanted to kind of come back full circle here, because Caleb Williams did talk about the video, not knowing how to watch video in his press conference. And he laughed. He's like, well, obviously I know how to watch video, which I always thought obviously clearly was true because, when they're interviewing these kids, they're putting video in front of them and asking them to break it down, right? I think what he wanted to say is when I'm messing up and I'm not doing things properly, the plays break down. I want you to show me where this play is breaking down. I can kind of see it, but am I missing something else? And I think that's where he was having problems. And I think the big help to Caleb Williams this year is Case Keenum, which, by the way, if you guys listen to, sports radio or whatever, I'm sure you guys do, basically Caleb is circumventing the collective bargaining agreement rules, and he can talk to a fellow player as much as he wants. So I think it was a really smart decision by the Bears to bring in Case Keenum, because while he can't talk to Ben on certain weekends or whatever during these OTAs and whatnot, he could pick up the phone or go hang out or go watch film with Case Keenum. He can go work out with him. He can, run over plays. He can, call him and text him as much as he wants. He's got a free coach there to help teach him how to play.
And during Case Keenum's presser, we heard him say, I'm super impressed with Caleb Williams, just how much of a sponge he is, how quickly he soaks up information. And I'm also impressed by the humility. Like he has he's been the best player on the field everywhere he's played, and he has no problem asking me questions and learning from me and learning from my wisdom of playing in the NFL for almost a decade. That was one of the things he harped about, like how willing Caleb Williams is to learn, and he doesn't care who it's from. He doesn't care if it's somebody that knows more about the NFL than he does. He'll
and that's what I think when he was going to the coaches last year saying, listen, coach us, tell us I think that's what he's trying to say. Like, dude, tell us what we're doing wrong so we could stop doing it. You know what I mean? Like that's not just humility. That's somebody that really, really wants to win and isn't just there for the paycheck.
And if I want to touch on this from DJ Profit, Deo's getting zero respect off season. Kept saying we need a D end. I think Deo was surprised a lot of people. I know you weren't here on Monday, but I defended the shit out of him. I thought it was a great pick, a great signing by the Bears. We talked about him. A couple of our co-hosts were not big on it. I love Dale.
He gets a lot of pressures. He's not a bad defensive end.
I think it's a great.
I don't dislike Deo. It's just how many. The argument I made was not that I don't like Deo. I like Deo a lot. I think Deo is capable of being a double-digit sack guy. The thing I don't like about Deo is the Bears continue to get these guys who have never really gotten like a ton of sacks. If you look at their careers, like Montez Sweat and Deo, like at what point are the Bears just going to be like, hey, let's just go get a guy who gets lots of sacks?
It's an elite position in football. You need an elite player there.
Yeah, and Dale's 25, and you're hoping in this new scheme that those pressures are going to turn into sacks, and that's what the Bears are banking on. And I hate to say it, I know he's only had one double-digit sack season in Montez Sweat. I think he had 12.5 a couple of years ago for Washington when he went to the Pro Bowl. I believe it was 2023. And he's hovered around that 8-9 mark his entire career. I think it's going to be another double-digit sack year for Montez Sweat if he can stay healthy.
So do I.
Yeah, the disrespect for him, nursing 4 injuries while the rest of the defense was out. I give that guy mad props for showing up every week, earning the $100 million contract, playing through those injuries, and trying to win football games for the Chicago Bears. Everyone else looks at it and says, oh, he just pushed the quarterback. He didn't get sacks. Well, you know what, dude? When you're an offensive game planner and you only got a game plan for one freaking guy and say, hey, we're going to take this guy out because no one else can do a fucking thing. Guess what? It's going to make it a lot harder on Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
So
that's for any player in the NFL in any position. Like if you only have one good receiver and the defense is like, hey, just double cover that receiver right there, then yeah, his statistics are not going to be as good if he was on a team where he had a really good counterpart. Like that's every position in the NFL.
If you can't stop the run, it doesn't matter if you have a good defensive end or not. They're just going to run the ball on you. He's not going to have time to sack.
And really quick for DJ,
Yeah.
I pointed this out when he signed that this was Cam Jordan. I don't know if you guys remember this. We did it on the show, the Cam Jordan Deo size comparison. But if Austin Booker puts on some weight, puts on a few LBs, he's that prototypical size as well. I think Cam Jordan was about 280, 285. He's at 240. So if he adds 15 pounds, Deo's only 267. So if he adds 15 pounds, he's getting up to Dennis Allen's prototypical size that he looks for in the defensive end. So Austin Booker is still a young kid. He's still growing into his body. I think he can still put on muscle. He can add some weight. I think Austin Booker will be just fine for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
That's just my opinion.
I don't know who said it, but I do agree with them that Austin Booker is probably going to be used in those NASCAR packages where you're just there. It was DJ Profit here, where you're there just to rush the quarterback. But that's fine if that's what his skill set is, and they want to use him on third downs when they know a team at third and long, and the team has to pass. Then put him in there, and maybe he can create some havoc and force some turnovers. Ultimately, I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast. I know DJ Profit, you're new to the podcast. You guys,
He is correct.
This is going to be sacked by committee. That's what this is. Dennis Allen is an aggressive, innovative defensive coordinator. He brings all sorts of blitz and blitzes and stunts, and they're going to try to get sacks using Kyler Gordon. They're going to try to get sacks using Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, their defensive ends, their defensive tackles. There's going to be pressure coming from all over the place, but I still don't think the Bears have that elite. Like Jason, you referred to him earlier as a guy who can take over the game or change the game.
Yeah, we don't have. Yeah,
I think they have some very good players. I don't think there's anybody in this roster who I would consider great, like a first ballot Hall of Famer. They don't have their Myles Garrett, their Max Crosby. That guy is not here. And at some point, the Bears are probably going to try to look to add somebody like that, I would assume. I mean,
I would think that's got to be the next priority next year in the draft is running back and defensive end. You're going to see a lot of, focus on.
And DJ Profit is right. And Deo, I'm sorry. I thought he was 267. He did play at 286. He played at 286. But if Booker puts on 15, 20 pounds, he's playing at 260. I still think that's going to be just fine. But he's only at 240, right? He 240 last year. I don't know what his weight is this year. I can only look up what they.
How big is Leonard Floyd?
Leonard Floyd is tiny.
That's what I'm saying. He's getting double-digit sacks every year, and he's not 290. Right?
He's really skinny.
Leonard Floyd is.
He's also very tall, though, so his weight might not be that
right. He might be 280, but 6'7".
He's 6'3", 240, and Austin Booker's 6'5", 240.
Sean, I got Leonard Floyd at 6'6" here. I'm on Wikipedia.
I'm on Pro Football Reference. It says 6'3", 240. Atlanta Falcons. I don't know.
Here, I'm going to check another website. Real quick before we get out of here, guys, there's just one thing I wanted to talk to you guys.
ESPN has him at 6'3", 240.
Yeah, ESPN 6'3". I don't know why.
Yeah, so if you get Booker up to 265, a guy can, and with the way they can do nutrition now, you literally just eat the calories and keep working out, and those guys will build the muscle mass that they need to do it.
You guys, one more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. Before we get too far from the subject, we were talking about position battles to watch training camp and preseason. Do you guys believe that there's a chance that Zay Frazier, or spelled Za Frazier, can supplant Tyreek Stevenson as the Chicago Bears' number 2 cornerback?
I was actually looking at it earlier today, and it wouldn't surprise me if for some reason, man, and I don't know if it'll wind up being due to injury or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if for some reason Kyler Gordon gets moved to safety and Za Frazier moves in as that nickel. And I don't know why. I mean, I know our safeties are good when healthy, but I got a weird feeling about it. And I just thought about it like, man, I know Gordon is such a good nickelback, but he's a natural safety. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I want to see Za Frazier get some time though. And honestly, if Tyreek can't get his head straight and screwed on right, don't be surprised if you see Za Frazier in there.
I'm gonna say not this year. Possibility down the road, but not this year.
What do you mean, like not this year? Like not to start the season, or you're saying like not the entire season? He will not take over.
I personally think that Tyreek Stevenson's a really good player, and
all the talent in the world. It's all up here.
Under the staff, I think he's going to keep his head on straight, and he's going to be a very good football player for the Bears. I like Zoff Frazier a lot. I think he's got some talent to him, especially if you watch him.
He's tall. He's like lengthy, dude. His arms are just so long.
He's a ball hawk.
He did say in his introductory press conference or his Zoom meeting after he got drafted by the Bears that his name is actually pronounced Zay.
It is Zay, correct.
Even though it's spelled Za, it's pronounced Zay Frazier. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, we wanted to recognize our fan base out there, and guys, we've only been doing this about 6 months now, and you guys have been such an integral part of growing our community, and I can't tell you how grateful we are. Words can't express it. We hit a marker, and you guys just keep adding to that marker every time, every show. New people like DJ Profit coming in, bringing great wisdom. One Chain's, what's his name? One Chain,
no necklace.
No bracelets.
No bracelets.
You guys like you that are kicking knowledge in this chat that keep our shows alive. We appreciate that so much. Correcting us. We love the banter back and forth with you guys. I am so appreciative because I've always said, if it was just us talking on here, I'd be really happy with that and didn't care if anybody else were to ever join, because I just like talking football. But hanging out with you guys on Mondays and Wednesdays and sometimes on Thursdays, it's a really great joy. It's a really great pleasure. And I really, 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 from the bottom of my heart, appreciate everybody, all of our members on Twitter, all of our members on TikTok, on Instagram, on our YouTube channel. I from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so very much. We greatly appreciate you, everybody here at 4 Stars.
Yeah, and what's the greatest part about it, guys, is the list is so long now of loyal listeners that I don't even have the time or the memory to repeat them all. But the Ant Masses, the Broski Bears, the Rons, the Phils, the Crooked Commish, even what Breaking News Bruce does for us, all Erica,
even the
everybody.
Trolls. I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Even Melon Smasher, who seems to hate the Bears but joins us quite often. Tom G, all of our new listeners, Ron, everybody in the chat, Dennis, or the guys who aren't here right now, Mr. Sean, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Mr. Shorty, Notorious TBG, Darius,
we got a new guy,
Luke.
Yeah, Darius Locker, everybody in the chat, man. You guys, you guys make it so enjoyable. It's so much easier to talk Bears when you guys constantly give us new information and new material to talk about. All the breaking news people give us on this podcast. But it's just honestly, in all sincerity, talking to you guys on Mondays and Wednesdays is what's the funnest part of my week outside of spending time with my girlfriend and daughter. And I really appreciate it, man. I feel like we're building a community here, and I couldn't be any happier with the way this is going. And just so you guys all know, obviously, with the amount of subs we have on YouTube, we just had the chance to monetize, and that is all due to you guys, man. Without you guys, none of this stuff would have been possible. I don't know where this thing's going to end up. We do this solely because we love the Chicago Bears, and we do it for fun. We're not doing this to make money or anything like that, guys. We started this because we were on his previous podcast called Chicago Sports Podcast. We wanted a little bit more creativity. No disrespect to Trax. He's doing great things over there, but we wanted a little more creativity. So we started our own thing here. And it's been an absolute blast ever since, getting to know all you guys. Even when we had that Bears draft party, 4 or 5 people came out to visit us from 4 Star Chicago Sports. Yeah, can't overstate how much we appreciate it. And honestly, guys, we're going to start having competitions here. We've talked about doing things like having you all send us your fantasy team on our website, and then we'll rank them, and whoever's team we like the most, we'll send you a Bears jersey or Bears tickets, something along those lines, guys. It's all in the works here. We expect we're gonna do more stuff. We're gonna get more creative here. Please check out our website, check out our Twitter, check out our Instagram, our Facebook. If you guys like the content we put out there, please share this with as many of your friends as you possibly can. We want this community to grow as much as possible. Guys like Jason, Trax, everybody who's joined in since we started this, everybody who's jumped on board. It's been an absolute blast, and I can't overstate how much I've enjoyed myself and how fun this is, man. It's a side of football and sports that we've never really got to be part of, and social media has opened that up for people, and it's just absolutely a great time. Jason, anything you want to say to our loyal listeners, man?
I'll just keep it short, man. I mean, fans are everything, right? I mean, it's one thing, like you said, to just sit here and talk and blabber. Anybody can do that, but it's another thing to kind of entertain you guys. And honestly, I think we all feed off of the comments that you guys make. So when you can help us entertain you, it makes it even easier. So no BS. You guys literally are the reason why the show is doing so well. Can't thank you more. I mean, I look forward to talking to you guys all the time. I try to be as active as I possibly can in there with you guys. It's super fun talking and chatting to you. Tons of good comments every single week. I mean, man, even for, just this small podcast here, we don't even really get a whole lot of trolls. So the community itself in the chat room is just really cool. So good to see that as well. Just love you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we got guys like Luke who come in and subscribe.
Yeah.
DJ Prophet,
Yeah.
hopefully you hit that
Yeah,
like and subscribe as well, boys.
Yeah, and Luke, thank you so much for joining us, man. And you guys, hopefully, we could set our goals and our sights higher than that. Hopefully, one day there's a channel where kind of something along these lines where it's almost like a Zoom where anybody can jump in and out at any given moment. It's all just one big channel, one big family, and we can continue to talk about the Bears. I know that a lot of people around the Chicagoland area love the Bears just as much as we do, and that's why they watch this show, because they're so dedicated to their team and their sports. And it's been a blast, man. It's been a blast, and I hope it continues to grow and it just gets better and better and better as the months go on here. But yeah, and you know what? This is, I think, the most excitement I've seen from Chicago Bears fans in a long time, with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and everything that's happening here. So couldn't happen at a better time. We appreciate you all so much. Thank you, Sean. Obviously, Sean does a lot of work for this podcast, guys. More work than you guys could ever possibly imagine. A lot goes into this stuff. A lot goes into the administrative side of this. There's a lot of headaches, a lot of long days, but it's all worth it, man. 100%. And it's because of guys like Luke and DJ Prophet and One Chain, No Bracelets, and Ant Mass and Broski Bear and Breaking News Bruce.
Bears
and
for life. What up?
And Erica, Bears for Life. Obviously, Phil's a great guy, man. We got a chance to meet him. An absolutely amazing person. Man, it's just the relationships you create through sports is amazing, and it's something I'll always enjoy being a part of, and I will never, ever, ever not be a Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, and Cubs fan, and I guess maybe sometimes the White Sox too.
I'll never be a White Sox fan. Sorry.
Sean, anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah. Let's go. That a boy. Awesome.
I mean, it's bad that the dude in the dunce hat is the happiest. I mean, that kind of ruins it, but.
You dunce.
That's right. I agree, Luke.
Yeah, Luke, I'm greedy and I want 4 or 5, but man, just to get one, I can't even imagine anymore. I was born in '88, so I never got a chance to see the Bears win a Super Bowl. I did not have good feeling about going to the Super Bowl in '06 against Peyton Manning, who was long overdue to win a Super Bowl. But yeah, I feel like I honestly do believe, as a Bears fan, this is not just being biased and thinking with my heart. I think this is the closest I've seen them get in a very long time, obviously outside of that 06 team with Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs. I think this team is littered with talent, and they finally got the guys here to kind of lead the way and get the ship on the right path. And I think at some point, and then in the near future, with Caleb Williams here, the Chicago Bears are going to be in that conversation for Super Bowl champions for sure.
Hey guys, and don't forget, the Barely There podcast is returning to its normal late night hour of 11:30 tomorrow, with Dustin and Brandon back on the flagship. So,
and we moved this show to 7 p.m. now. It's at 7, not 6.
Mondays and Wednesdays are going to be 7. We're keeping Saturdays at noon for our Cubs weekly review, and then Dustin and Brandon will be at 11:30 tomorrow on the bare minimum. So make sure, if you guys are up, check them out. If not, check them out on your way to work, because they're always fun. They're always entertaining. They got a lot of stuff, a lot of good points. They'll probably counter us in some of the things we said today. So it's kind of a back and forth, and it's fantastic. So
anybody who enjoys watching this show, man, please go check out our website at 4starschicagosports.com. You can become a member of our website. We call it the 5th Stars Club. We put up all of our blogs out there, guys. So if you guys are interested to see if we're as good at writing as we are talking, if we are even good at talking, I don't know. But please go check it out. Check out the Facebook page. Check out the Twitter. Check out, Sean is constantly on Twitter, constantly loading new information, breaking news, articles, talking to different sports writers throughout the Chicago area, talking to Cubs writers, communicating with Bears writers. You can always get those perspectives from our Twitter page, YouTube, Facebook. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you very much. Breaking news, Bruce.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, of course.
Until next time, everybody, we love you. And bear down.
Bears.